It's 6 o'clock. I'm Simon Oxley. The headlines: schools to spot signs of extremism, first bodies to be flown home from Tunisia, and Luton sell their leading scorer.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
From today, schools in the three counties have a statutory duty to prevent students from being drawn into terrorism. Teachers and students will have training to spot the early signs of extremism. More from Jessica Cooper.
The new rules under the Counter-Terrorism and Security Act apply to all schools, including nurseries. It means staff will have to undergo training to challenge extremist ideas and make sure students don't access terrorist material online. High Wycombe and Luton have been highlighted as two high-priority areas.
The first bodies of the British tourists who were killed in Tunisia will be flown home later today. Tributes have been paid to Chris Dyer from Watford, with fellow Watford supporters starting an online fund in his memory. Holiday firms Thomson and First Choice have confirmed 22 of the victims were their customers. Speaking at a press conference at Luton Airport last night, the company's managing director, Nick Longman, said their priority is the bereaved and injured.
We have returned 4,000 customers to date on 25 flights. We have a further 15 empty flights going out to Tunisia in the next 2 days, bringing back a further 1,900 customers. Any remaining customers are those who wish to remain in Tunisia.
The long-awaited report on expanding Britain's airports will be released this morning and is expected to recommend that a third runway be built at Heathrow, but it's likely to say that proposals for a second runway at Gatwick are also credible, meaning the government will have the final decision. Greece has become the first developed country to fail to repay a loan from the International Monetary Fund. Eurozone countries will hold a conference call this morning to discuss the crisis. A teenager has been given a suspended sentence and a banning order for having sex with a 12-year-old girl in Hertfordshire. The 17-year-old told the court he believed the victim was 15. More from Tony Fisher.
The defendant met the 12-year-old in Parkfield Park in Potters Bar in September last year. After playing spin the bottle, they walked off together and started having sex by a log. He also took an indecent photograph of the girl. The defendant, who now lives in Suffolk, pleaded guilty to 2 counts of causing a child to engage in sexual activity and 1 of taking an indecent photo of a child. The judge gave him a 9-month jail sentence, suspended for 2 years, and banned him for having unsupervised access to girls under 16 for 5 years.
Temperatures in some parts of the UK are expected to reach 35 Celsius today, making it the warmest day for nearly 10 years. Health warnings have been issued and train operators say services could be disrupted by rails becoming too hot. A number of operators are running a reduced service, including on the East Coast Main Line through Stevenage. In sport, Luton's leading scorer Mark Cullen has joined League One Blackpool for £180,000. Milton Keynes Dons goalkeeper David Martin has signed a new 2-year contract, and Hertfordshire-based Aljaž Bedene has joined Andy Murray in the second round at Wimbledon. The Slovenian from Welwyn Garden City beat Radek Stepanek in 5 sets. The weather here: another hot and sunny day, but feeling humid, a maximum temperature 32 degrees Celsius, and you can get the latest news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties.
By a log, classy. I mean, you know, I've just gone on to lastminute.com. Flights and holidays in Tunisia are not as cheap as you would expect at the moment. I mean, it looks like the hotels are kind of cheap anyway. One is reduced from £29.80 to £20.86, but you would have thought they'd be offering you cash to go there. How much? Let me hang on. That's just the hotel. Let me see. Hang on a second. Let me just see. Let me just do flights and hotels. Hang on. That's I've got to wait. We're searching for flight and hotel packages to Tunisia. Hang on, guys. Well, I don't know. Is this cheap? 380 quid per person, including flight and hotel? It still sounds a little bit pricey, considering what happened.
Maybe the Brits have been undeterred and they know that.
I mean, would anybody really go to Tunisia?
My mates are making alternative arrangements.
Yeah. Well, I'm worried about going to Greece in August, you know. And that's just because I don't know if I'll be able to hire a car. You go to Tunisia, I don't want to say anything, but You might get blown up. I don't want to cause panic. Anyway.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Okay, this is how the show... Now, I can't remember how to make this work, so we'll have a little... This is how the show should have started on Friday if somebody hadn't messed around with the old records. Let me just see. One of these faders. There we go. We should have started with a little bit of Mr. Merle Haggard. And we're going to start now.
We don't smoke marijuana in Muskogee.
This is a tune, by the way.
We don't take our trips on LSD. We don't burn our draft cards down on Main Street. 'Cause we like living right and being free. We don't make a party out of loving, but we like holding hands and pitching woo. We don't let our hair grow long and shaggy like the hippies out in San Francisco do. And I'm proud to be an Okie from Muskogee, a place where even squares can have a ball. We still wave Old Glory down at the courthouse, and white lightning's still the biggest thrill of all. Leather boots are still in style for manly footwear. Beads and Roman sandals won't be seen, and football's still the roughest thing on campus. And the kids here still respect the college dean. And I'm proud to be an Okie from Muskogee, a place where even squares can have a ball. We still wave Old Glory down at the courthouse. White lightning's still the biggest thrill of all. And white lightning's still the biggest thrill of all.
I suspect all of the music today is going to come from the Convoy soundtrack. I'm just saying it is one of... I've been looking for this record for ages. Where did I find it? In Dunstable for 99 pence. Oxfamington, no less! Oxfamington, 99p. It's the best soundtrack album. No. It's the best album of all time, and we're gonna play it until it's shredded today. Someone saying I'm an idiot on Twitter. Good morning, guys. Now, teenagers have a new responsibility from today. Along with making sure their students can read, write and remember, it's now part of their job to stop them turning into terrorists. Staff at nurseries, primary and secondary schools will all get additional training, and pupils won't be allowed to access extremist material online. So, well, that's that problem solved. Joyce Shakespeare is chair of the Channel Panel. Oh, that's good. A partnership of local organisations trying to prevent extremism, and joins us now. Morning, Joy.
Good morning.
What do you think of these measures?
I think it's exactly the right thing to do. It's important that we protect our young people from being radicalised by people who want to wish them harm and us harm.
So, how does this programme do that?
Well, we ask people to look out for those young people who are at risk of being radicalised because they're vulnerable, and then to put in place a package of support both to change the way that they're thinking about radicalisation, but also to provide other more positive activities instead.
OK, two follow-on questions from that. How do you recognise someone who's at risk, and what's the support mechanism that one puts in place to stop them becoming a terrorist?
Okay. It's like with child sexual exploitation. It's very difficult to recognise all of the signs because obviously young people do become isolated or withdrawn for lots of different reasons. But there are signs such as somebody who has recently changed their views or who has withdrawn from their normal friendship groups.
That's called being a teenager, isn't it, though?
Absolutely. This is why it's so difficult. But one other way is what they're accessing online.
And how do you know that?
And that's why that's why the government is asking schools, of course, to monitor what people do look at online.
And how are schools going to be able to do that? Because kids have, young people have the internet in their pocket.
I know, and that makes it very, very difficult.
It makes
indeed.
it impossible, doesn't it?
Well, it does. It really does. So that's why we look out for other signs as well. This is just a duty on all public sector bodies, not just schools, to look out for the signs of radicalisation.
But again, I don't know what the signs are.
Again, it's very, very difficult to say. It's where...
So what? But people are being told to look out for the signs, but it's difficult to say. So how are they going to do that? Okay, let's park that one for a second. What support mechanism are you What support mechanism is being suggested to help these young people who are being radicalised?
Okay, there are really two things that we can do. Firstly, we can challenge any beliefs that they have been given, any thoughts that they've been had put into their heads by online or other groomers, by using somebody who knows this world very well. Now, if it, for example, was right-wing extremism, we might use somebody who's already gone through a process of being involved in that sort of group, or who knows it very well, who can challenge the beliefs that they're holding. If it's Islamists, we might use somebody who has a really detailed knowledge of Islam. I can point out what a peaceful religion it is.
I think I can hear. Hang on a second. I think I can hear the sound of straws being clutched at. This isn't going to work, is it? This isn't going to work because if there is somebody who is being radicalised, and I'll be honest, I don't actually know what that term means. It's a term that gets bandied around, and I don't have a definition for it. Anybody that approaches them with an alternative view is the enemy, and of course you'd say that because you're the enemy.
What we found, actually, is not that at all, because we're catching people, not just young people, but all people, before it gets too serious. Obviously, that's important to catch it at the right time, but to put in a different message, a different alternative. And we find that quite often people can then change their minds.
What's the success rate?
Well, I can't give you any case studies, I can't give you any numbers, but what I can say is that I have known a number of successful cases.
Now, when you say successful, what have they gone from to in terms of their thinking?
They've gone from a belief in a very extreme and potentially violent response to the problems of the world, which might have involved them in taking illegal action in terrorism, to still a belief in that way of thinking, for example, a faith or a belief, but not going down a violent pathway anymore, which is all we want to do. We don't want to change people's minds about faith. What we want to do is stop them committing illegal acts. And that bit you can challenge. You can point out you can, for example...
I'm not buying it, Joy. I'm not buying it. I tell you why I'm not buying it, Joy, because... I'm assuming from your voice, correct me if I'm wrong, white, middle class, kind of a similar age to me. What do we know about 14, 15, 16-year-old kids, let alone Islamic kids, but that are disaffected by society, feel there is no future for them, feel angry with the government for ignoring them, feel marginalised, feel excluded, feel that there is no hope. But then there's somebody online at the other end of a website or a chat room that is promising to love me and protect me and will look after me, and that if I die, they're going to give me 70 virgins. What hope have we got against that? We haven't got any hope against that. Maybe with a few, but with the majority of people, we don't stand a chance.
Well, as we know, and you're right about me, by the way, but as we know, as we know, the vast majority of people don't go down that route. It's a very, very tiny minority.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are looking at some people who may flirt with that as a thought, and that's what we want to stop. People get drawn in, just like with sexual exploitation of children, which is a very current topic here in this area, isn't it?
Here's the thing, right? I remember being at school, 14, 15, and we had a copper coming in telling us about the dangers of drugs, right? And he brought in drugs. Now, the kids that were never going to take drugs sat there all rapt and in attention going, oh, gosh, look, that's what an ecstasy looks like. That is what a weed looks like. I'm never going to do that. All the kids that were taking drugs or were always going to take drugs went, yeah, wicked. That's what pills look like. It doesn't change their mind.
And maybe those people wouldn't change their minds, but maybe there was a group in the middle who thought, well, maybe it's not a good idea.
Maybe. Joy, listen, I wish you the best of luck. The reason I'm sounding harsh is because I don't know what the answer is, and I wish you all the good luck in the world. I'm not in any way demeaning what you do. I'm just trying to question it and get my head around it. I hope you appreciate that.
Absolutely, no problem at all.
I wish you the very best of luck. Thank you very much indeed. That's Joy Shakespeare, who's the chair of the Channel Panel, which, say it, it's a fun thing to say, Channel Panel, why not? I just kind of, well-meaning doesn't necessarily equate to, well, if they stop one person going off and being a nut job, then that's good, isn't it? Right, let's get some of this.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Well, delays for Virgin Trains East Coast services via Milton Keynes Central and Watford Junction already this morning. There are speed restrictions in place all day because of the hot weather. That could also affect services running via Peterborough as well. For the roads, though, not looking too bad so far this morning. No problems to the A1M, the M1 or indeed the M40 and the M25 running well too. Chris Humphries, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Who? Morning, guys. Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. From today, schools in the three counties have a statutory duty to prevent students from being drawn into terrorism. The first bodies of the British tourists who were killed in Tunisia will be flown home later today. And the long-awaited report on expanding Britain's airports will be released this morning and is expected to recommend a third runway be built at Heathrow.
If you've missed any of the programmes here on BBC Three Counties Radio, you've missed things like this.
Put it this way, I used to drink at least 8 or 9 litres of cider a day.
Well, stop showing off. I ain't got time for that. I want to go to Matty Bum Bum.
Right.
Mate, I'm not being funny. I stopped a trail for you. That is a fineable offence. I could have to pay a £25 fine for that. And I come to you and you're as miserable as a piece of dog poo.
I'm not miserable.
You are miserable!
Look.
I'm looking.
I phoned up because at last...
Because you're drunk and you can't find any more booze. Sorry?
Can I speak?
I don't know, Matt. Can you?
I phoned up.
Yes. I know you did. That's why we're talking to you.
A great record this morning.
Thank you.
Merle Haggard.
Who?
Merle Haggard.
Who? I didn't play any Merle Haggard.
No.
No. I played Merle Haggard.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, just,
Okay, you know everything. Okay.
I do know more than you, Matt. Let's be honest.
No, you don't.
Yeah, well, no. Yes, I do.
Not about music, you don't.
Well, I know the name of the song, the singer I just played.
Well, fair enough.
So exactly, 1-0 to me. Next. Oh, it's my computer booting up. Next question.
No, there's no more.
No?
Goodbye.
No, hang on. Matty Bum Bum?
No.
No,
I'm talking to you.
Yes, it is.
It's so sarcastic in the morning.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. But the next song is going to be awesome as well.
Yeah.
No, it is. Why don't you believe me?
Yeah, okay.
No, why don't you believe... OK, I'm going to play you a snatch. You have to tell me who the singer is and what the song is. Ready? There we go. What song's that?
Don't know.
Come on, Matty. Here we go, listen.
Play a bit more. It sounds like a Kenny Rogers song.
It does, but it's not. What song's that? You know that.
A little bit more.
Kath knows we can hear her through the non-soundproof glass What song is it, Matt?
God, you got me.
Here we go. There we go. I'm going to go into the middle of the groove. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Come on, mate. I just thought you knew about music.
Yeah.
Here we go. Oh, she even said a bit of the title there. She. Oh, did I give away it was a woman? We're going to go towards the end. Here we go.
No.
You don't know Billy Joe Spears and Blanket on the Ground?
Come and look out.
Goodbye, Matt. Goodbye. Bye-bye. Unbelievable.
That big old moon is shining down. Tell me now, don't it remind you of a blanket on the ground? Remember back when love first found us? We'd go slipping out of town, and we'd love beneath the moonlight, on a blanket on the ground. I'll get the blanket from the bedroom, and we'll go walking once again to that spot down by the river, where our sweet love first began. Just because we are married don't mean we can't slip around. So let's walk out through the moonlight and lay the blanket on the ground. Oh, remember how excited we used to get when love was young. That old moon was our best buddy. We couldn't wait for night to come. Now you know you still excite me. I know you love me like I am. Just once more, I wish you'd love me. On a blanket on the ground, I'll get the blanket from the bedroom, and we'll go walking once again to that spot down by the river, where our sweet love first began. Just because we are married don't mean we can't slip around. So let's walk out through the moonlight and lay the blanket on the ground.
Morning, David.
Hello.
Hello, David.
And how are you?
I'm feeling sexy.
Yeah, it's a bright and cheerful morning, isn't it?
Isn't it? I can see a man outside on Dunstable Downs clearing up all the doggy poo-poo. Hey, get this, right? So, I'm driving through Dunstable yesterday, and there's this old boy. Big, fat old man he was, right? And he just walks out into... He's just crossing the road. He's just crossing the road. And he steps in front of my car, David.
Oh, yeah.
And I knocked him down. No, I didn't. And I stopped, because I'm good at stopping, right?
Yeah.
And after the accident. And he didn't even look at me, right? So he walked past. I wound down my window. I went, "You're very welcome."
Yeah,
Do you know
we had an old... we had an old lady like that in the bank.
Sorry?
I bet it wasn't quite like this.
Hello?
What-
And do you know...
what-
Yeah. Steady. Do you know what he said to me?
Yeah.
What?
No, I don't know. You can tell me.
Yeah, I am, if you button it. He said, F off! He said it, but he didn't say F off. He actually said it. He said the F word.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me.
Yeah.
All I did was be passive-aggressive. He was aggressive.
Yeah.
And you say you had an old woman swearing in the bank and smearing her deposits everywhere.
Not quite. Look, when people get older, they're not as efficient with their minds.
They are. Well, you said that.
Well, it just happens. It's a reality of nature. And some people...
It's a reality of
last longer than
nature?
others.
Yeah. Well, how's your mind? Efficient or efficient?
Oh, I'm down to about 90%.
Gosh.
But this old lady this lady in the bank...
Yes.
She was probably around about 80.
Yes.
And she just walked past the queue and went straight up to the teller.
Well, but in fairness, she probably hasn't got much time to get that money out.
Yeah. Well, the chap in front of me says, "Did you see that?"
Yeah.
I says, "Yeah, but don't you realise she's only running on 50%?"
There we go, you see. Well, David, it's a great call, mate.
Hey, do you know that earlier one? The show you said about previously.
The what?
The show before yours. You said about he was.
Wally Webb was cheating. He was cheating. Which singer turned down £1 million to play the part of Eva Peron in the film Evita? Well, it was Madonna.
Yeah.
Hang on, but she did the part, yeah, but she turned down £1 million. Cheat.
Well, that's the answer I actually gave. I couldn't remember, it was so long ago, whether she actually did it or turned it down.
Boy, oh boy, she
turned
did
out
it,
I was
didn't she?
right on both counts.
Hanky Spanky.
Yeah.
Thanks for calling. A teenager's been placed on the sex offenders register for 5 years after admitting having sex with a 12-year-old girl in Hertfordshire. The incident happened in a park near a log after a group of kids played spin the bottle. The 17-year-old told the court that he and his friends were told the victim was 15. The judge accepted the girl had appeared to consent. Catherine, what are the details of this case, please?
Well, I don't want to go into too much detail.
You're going to have to get closer to that microphone, please.
Because we already know about the log. This happened on September the 7th last year when the defendant was living in South Mimms.
Yep.
The youth was with two other friends when he met the 12-year-old and her friends in Parkfield Park where they played Spin the Bottle. I'm sure you're familiar with it.
Nope.
Prosecutor Anne Evans told the court they walked off together and that's when it happened. The girl complained that it hurt. He stopped, but then he took a photograph of her in a compromising position. The defendant now lives in Suffolk. He accepts he had no one to blame but himself and pleaded guilty to 2 counts of causing a child to engage in sexual activity and 1 of taking an indecent photo.
What sentence was given?
He was given quite a strong sentence. He's not going to be allowed to have any contact with girls under 16 for 5 years. He's going to be on the sex offenders register for 5 years, and also he's got a suspended sentence of 9 months. That's suspended for 2 years. Judge Andrew Bright QC told him, I agree she appeared to be consenting. It was still plain she was an underage girl who you were not allowed to have sexual intercourse with.
It's what do children's charities say about this case?
We've been talking to Claude Knights. She's the chief executive of the charity Kidscape, and she told us that children are becoming used to images they see around them, sexual images, whether on billboards or online, and it's just becoming normalised. Another concern is peer-to-peer pressure through things like sexting. She says that it comes down to education.
Blatantly, we need more communication between parents and children. We need to create a climate from very, very early on where children actually feel at ease and parents feel at ease talking to each other about certain issues that might have thought to have been embarrassing at one time. I mean, the 12, we have to think, well, what happened to get a person of 12 to that stage? What was she not able to process or talk about or explore with people who might have given her a perspective which was safer and more age appropriate?
Well,
there we go. We're going to be talking to the NSPCC later on. Can't help thinking, though, this is the sort of thing that's gone on for years, hasn't it? I mean, the difference being that now there are photographs lingering afterwards,
when I
not
was
just
at
rumours.
when I was at school, there were 14-year-old girls that would get picked up by their boyfriends in their Ford Cortinas who were 23 and 24, and they were loving it. And at the time, we thought, oh, yeah, fair play. I don't know. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. You decide. You're the judge. You're not literally the judge. That would be...
John Andrew Bright, QC.
There we go, you see.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Delays for Virgin Trains East Coast services via Stevenage are expected today. There are speed restrictions on the East Coast Main Line because of the hot weather. That could also later affect West Coast Main Line services via Watford and Milton Keynes as well. Out on the roads, getting busy on the anti-clockwise M25 from junction 21 for the M1 to 19 for Watford, and again from 16 for the M40 to 15 for the M4. Not looking too bad for the M1, the A1M, or indeed the M40 just yet though. Chris Humphries, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Suck my kiss. Across beds, hearts and bugs.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's 6:30, I'm Simon Oxley. From today, schools have a statutory duty to prevent students from being drawn into terrorism. High Wycombe and Luton have been highlighted as two high priority areas. The first bodies of the British tourists who were killed in Tunisia will be flown home later today. Tributes have been paid to Chris Dyer from Watford. And the long-awaited report on expanding Britain's airports will be released in the next hour and is expected to recommend that a third runway be built at Heathrow.
Three Counties Sports.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Luton's leading scorer Mark Cullen has joined League One Blackpool for £180,000. Cullen scored 14 goals last season, but manager John Still says the player made it clear he wanted to move north to be closer to home. Luton say the fee could double with add-ons and a sell-on clause. New Watford head coach Quique Flores says staying in the Premier League is the main aim next season. He was introduced to the media yesterday and says Jose Mourinho has already told him what it'll be like.
Mourinho told me he told me after the lunch, he told me, Kike, the Premier is the paradise of the manager. Yes.
Milton Keynes Dons goalkeeper David Martin has signed a new 2-year contract. It follows yesterday's 3 new arrivals, including Welsh international striker Simon Church.
I come down and seen the club last week, had a look round and spoke to a few people, and there's a big buzz around the club at the moment, obviously after their achievement from last season. And me on a personal level, the philosophy that the manager brings, the way they play football and how ambitious the club is, it was a perfect fit for me.
Wycombe have signed winger Jason Banton after he left Plymouth. Wanderers have also signed Danny Rowe from Rotherham on a 3-year deal, having had him on loan last season. Elsewhere, Leicester have sacked manager Nigel Pearson, and the USA are through to the Women's World Cup final after beating Germany 2-0. England's women face Japan in the early hours of tomorrow morning. Andy Murray's through to the second round at Wimbledon after a straight sets win over Mikhail Kukushkin of Kazakhstan, and Hervey-based Aljaž Bedene from Slovenia beat Radek Stepanek in 5 sets. He's been living in Welwyn Garden City since 2008. This is his first Wimbledon as a British citizen. And in golf, 2-time US Open champion Retief Goosen won a playoff to secure a place at next month's British Open in yesterday's qualifying at Woburn. But Colin Montgomery missed out. BBC Three Counties News and Sport. The next full bulletin at 7.
Mikhail Kukushkin of Kazakhstan was my nickname at school.
Was it?
Yeah, yes it was. Yes it was.
This is Iain Lee.
On BBC Three Counties Radio.
Well, it had to happen. Peter in Walmer Green. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning.
What would you like to have a whinge about this morning, sir?
A whinge in time saves lives, actually.
A
But
whinge
anyway,
in... Hang on a second. Say that again.
A whinge in time saves lives.
Well, do you know what? That's an excellent philosophy that I shall carry with me to the grave.
Good.
Thank you. It's going to go on my gravestone.
What I was going to say was,
yes.
Underage sex is rape. Whichever way you put it.
Hang on a second. We've gone from the light to the dark in just the space of a nano.
Now, we don't want to go from a sleazy country to a slutty country, so it should be considered rape if it's underage sex.
Clip that, but I'll never play it on the radio. That's my ringtone. We don't want to go from a sleazy country to a slutty country. I think it may be too late. I don't know if you've seen there's a programme called The Jeremy Kyle Show. Have you seen that?
No, well, I don't watch that. I've seen a tiny piece of it, and I thought to myself,
I think they're making a film of it, actually.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Okay, yes, it's against.
I get you as a person who, all of a sudden, he finds something that's very serious.
Yes.
And you pick up on it, and you really give a good interview.
Who does?
But you do.
Hang on, you pay.
When
you pay me a compliment, Peter.
Oh, that's absolute compliment.
Hey, flipping it! This is a guy who left us for a few months to go and listen to Radio 4.
Well, see, if I listen too long, my brain turns to mush.
I love that as well.
Oh, Peter.
No, listen. I listen. Of course, sex with a 12-year-old is completely inappropriate and is wrong. let me play devil's advocate for a second. The lad was 17. He thought she was 15. Does that make a difference?
Well, when I was 17, I would have never imagined a 12-year-old to be 15.
12-year-olds. All right, I'm going to say this, and I'm aware. I'm aware. Do you know what? That I feel sorry for that poor fella, the ex-Labour guy who's been booted out the party for taking a selfie on the beach in Tunisia. I feel really sorry for him. I think it's been completely blown out of proportion. And I was thinking about this yesterday, thinking, do you know what? That's going to happen to me at some point, very, very soon. I'm going to get hoisted by my own petard at some point.
You was just talking You were just talking to a gentleman about an old lady in a bank.
Swallowed a fly. I don't know why she swallowed a fly.
Well, they were saying how old she was, and she was only 50% there.
Yeah, he said that.
But you're over 50% there already.
Thank you. Here's the thing, right? And this might be the thing that if any of the local newspapers who want to have a pop, you can take this quote out of context. Some 12-year-olds look hot. Some 12-year-olds look like sexy women.
Yeah.
Because of the way that they are 13, 14 more, but there are some, because of the way they are physically developed and because of the way they... Whose 13-year-old daughter was it?
Cindy Crawford's
Cindy
daughter.
Crawford's 13-year-old daughter was in the paper the other day, Pete. She looked like a sexy 22-year-old.
Here's the thing, right? I've got two little girls, and they are little
It's very
girls.
dangerous, that.
I've got two little girls, and I find it very difficult to buy them clothes already, and they're 3 and 6. Buy them clothes that aren't just miniature versions of what a woman would
Now,
wear.
can I just say, just to clarify, and this is the bit that won't get used in the newspaper article, I do not find 12-year-old girls sexually attractive, OK? But some 12, 13, 14 more girls, they look like grown, sexy women. They do. Not quite sure where I'm going with that point now. I got so into
That it's hard to tell. That it's hard to tell how old they are.
Now, that is in no way a justification of what has happened. And my wife is 5 years younger than me, and that makes me uncomfortable. You know, I couldn't. You wouldn't want to go any younger than that. But a 17-year-old might find it even harder to distinguish that age difference. Do you understand what I'm saying, Peter? I'm not justifying what's happened. What's happened is terrible.
I would doubt that very much. Because when I was a 17-year-old, I could identify the difference between...
Well, but that was but with greatest respect, that was in the 19th century. And kids look like... I'm teasing, but kids look like kids when you were young, and old people look like old people. Nowadays, that definition isn't quite so clear, is it? Kids look like grown-ups, and really old people can look like, middle-aged people.
Well, it wasn't until the 70s and 80s that you got teenage fashion.
Well, in the 17th century, as you're saying, there must have been a hell of a lot of decency, because there's a hell of a lot of decency where I
No,
come
hang on a
from.
minute.
Hang on.
Actually, in the Victorian era, wasn't it all right to have sex with 13-year-olds?
You're talking about a period of time when marriage started very young.
Yeah, exactly, about 13, 14.
But you can't go back. Well, you want to go back to the...
No way! Can I just clarify again?
Come back to the 14th century.
And no way giving the thumbs up to having it away with kids. I'm not. I think it's terrible.
But there's other people going back to the 14th century as well.
Here we go. Listen, Peter.
Yeah.
Someone has sent us a text. They've not put their name on it, which is a shame because I like this. Do you fancy a game of berry poker?
Berry poker?
Berry poker.
What the hell's that?
Well, we'll have a go. I'll go first. Kath will go second. Matty, you'll go third. Kelly, you'll go fourth. Halle Berry.
Is it me now?
Yeah.
Hollyberry.
Peter?
Attractive.
What?
Sorry?
Attractive.
All right, this is a practice round. Kelly?
Blackberry.
OK, there we go. We got it. Practice round.
OK.
OK, so this is it for real. You can use the same answers if you want, Pete, but not yours. Cause
I've got... you want me to follow up now?
Right, here we go.
Loganberry.
No,
right.
it's not your turn.
I got it. Right. Halle Berry.
Strawberry.
Loganberry.
Burberry. Counts.
Yeah, do you know what? I'll have that. It's not clock. Blackberry.
Hollyberry.
Oh,
I've got a good one, Peter. I've got a good one.
I don't know. No, can't follow that. Mulberry.
Mulberry, yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That works. Yeah. Kelly?
Gooseberry.
Berry. It's a disease.
Oh, yeah, it's nasty.
It's a nasty... It's a good one, isn't it, Pete?
All right.
Well, how about a strawberry?
We've
No,
had
it's
that.
my go.
We've had that.
Stop jumping the gun,
Yeah.
Peter. Berry in Lancashire.
Yeah, we'll have that. This is a great game. Why would they send this text in anonymously? Go on, Peter.
Oh, wait a minute, you haven't gone round all the others yet.
Yeah, no, the order is me, Kath, you, Kelly. Kath's just done Berry, up north.
Oh, well, it's not spelt right, that one.
Peter, thanks for calling. Speak to you later.
You're welcome. Bye.
Ta-ta. He's a good sport, isn't he?
Yeah. Tried to get me on a technicality.
Why would someone send that in anonymously? That's genius, Berry Poker. He called it Berry Trumps. It's Berry Poker. 03459 455 555 if you want to play. All of the music today comes from the Convoy soundtrack. I've been after this album for years. It's not on CD. It's one of the best albums of all time. Where are we going to go? Oh, Billy Crash Craddock? Come on, sir. Yes, let's be having it.
Gather round, I'm gonna tell a story that I hope will teach a lesson to you all. I'll lay it out so there won't be a doubt how I brought my kingdom to its fall. 'Cause I cheated on a good woman's love. I didn't know that it would turn out this way. Lesson one is when you start stepping out, you gotta start learning how to pay. I paid the price by lying to the one that deep inside I knew I needed most. I lied and then I went and lied again. Now in my dreams I'm haunted by these ghosts. 'Cause I cheated on a good woman's love. I didn't know that it would turn out this way. Lesson one is when you start stepping out, you gotta start learning how to pay. When she found out, I was just about to tell her all about the evils of my ways. But it's too late, 'cause when I say I love her, she don't believe a single word I say. 'Cause I cheated on a good woman's love. I didn't know that it would turn out this way. Lesson one is when you start stepping out, you gotta start learning how to pay. Listen to me now. I cheated on a good woman's love. I didn't know that it would turn out this way.
I used to listen to this album when I was 14 years old. For some reason, the Convoy film, which is... Have you seen Convoy?
No, I've heard of
It's
it.
such a good film, man. It's Chris Christopherson and Ali McGraw and Ernest Borgnine as Dirty Lyle. Oh, man. What he does to Pigpen. Oh, it's outrageous. No, it's not Pigpen. Who's the black fella that he's in the Jazz Singer with Neil Diamond? What's his character? Spider Mike. Spider Mike. Oh, he beat Spider Mike up.
Oh, nasty.
It's directed by... Here's the thing. Directed by Sam Peckinpah, who did a lot of nasty films. It's a great film, Convoy. In fact, I'm going to dig it out this afternoon. And whereas all my peers and contemporaries were listening to, I don't know, like hip bands in the 80s.
What, Mel and Kim?
Yeah, that stuff. 14-year-old me was listening to this.
Of course he was.
I feel sorry for me. I feel sorry for me, Pete.
Good morning.
Good morning, Pete. You want to play Berry Poker?
Yeah.
Okay. Go. Well. Hang on a second. It doesn't matter. You got two for us. You got to be in the game. You got to be in it to win it. We start again. We start. What's my stomach? We start. Okay. We start with me. Gooseberry.
Mm-hmm.
Catherine. Is she out?
Hang on, no. Can I have some thinking music?
No, you can't. You can't. I'm afraid it's really difficult to give you thinking music in this place.
Okay.
Guys, anything?
Wait.
3,
Wait.
2.
Blueberry muffin.
You can have that one. Pete?
Mary Berry.
Oh! Celebrate good times. Come on. Kelly Betts?
I'm on the phone to Matt.
Oh, how convenient.
How convenient.
One.
Yeah, go on then.
Hang on, Matt. Colin Berry.
Hey! Local and vocal. Snuffers has just stepped into the Berry Casino and he's tossed his cards on the table. He wants in. Snuffers, you're cutting in and you're more than welcome to. What you got?
What was the one that you just said? Because I was on the phone, I didn't hear you.
It doesn't matter, mate. You've walked in the casino late. We're being brave and bold enough to let you play.
Goji Berry.
Oh, okay. I've got my term. Nick Berry. Thank you very much indeed.
Beautiful 80s.
Catherine.
Acai berry.
Oh, yeah, I love that. It's good for your bowels, isn't it? Cleans out your bum. Pete.
My last one and the best one, Jackberry.
Are you folding now, Pete? Are you walking away from the table?
No, go on, I'll keep on then.
All right. Kelly Betts.
Blueberry.
We've done that one.
When? Was I on the phone?
No.
Doesn't matter if you're on the phone, mate. No phones are allowed in this casino of
No,
life.
but if I don't hear it, how am I going to know that you did it?
We did it in the first round.
We did it in the first round.
I don't think you did.
Yeah.
Didn't you do Blackberry?
We'll let her have it.
Go on.
We'll let her have it.
I'll not be churlish.
Because if she goes, then we've got to drive her home. And I don't. Snuffers!
Bury St Edmunds.
Hey! Travel's just going to have to wait. I tell you what, can you stay there, gentlemen? We're going to come to you after. I've got to do a little bit of business. And I don't mean that kind of business. I mean this kind.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Iain, can I chuck in Bill Berry, who used to be the drummer out of REM?
Oh, yes, you can, sir. Well done. Someone else is laying their cards on the table. Thank you.
Boom. Right, the railways. We could see some delays for Virgin Trains East Coast services via Stevenage today. There are speed restrictions in place because it's so hot, of course, and fewer trains running up to Leeds if you were planning on going that way. That could later also affect West Coast mainline trains running via Watford and Milton Keynes. Out on the roads, getting heavy on the M1 going south from junction 10 for the Luton Airport Spur Road through to 9 for Redbourne. The A1's also queuing going south towards London from the Holiday Inn roundabout through to Stirling Corner, and heavy on the anti-clockwise side of the M25. Firstly from the M1 at 21 to Watford at junction 19, then again from Maple Cross at 17 to the M4 at 15. Chris Humphries, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Chris, it's a pleasure to be playing with a player, sir. It really is. It really is. Thank you. We got, do you know what? Okay, news. Let's go straight to the weather. I'm having too much fun playing
Beds,
this.
Herts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
After a really hot and humid night last night, we're in for another hot and humid day. Now, yesterday was the warmest day of the year so far. Today is up to be the warmest yet. So even hotter, I'm afraid. I'm not afraid, actually. I'm just going to say it's going to be hotter.
Don't be afraid. You're not responsible for the weather. You just tell us.
It's kind of like I'm apologising for it. And that's why I corrected myself. That's why I corrected myself.
Stand
anyway,
tall and proud.
It's going to be hot and humid, lots of sunshine or sunny spells. There is more cloud, but despite this additional cloud today, it's still going to see 32 Celsius as a maximum temperature, so very warm indeed. Sunsets are 21, 24, some late sunshine this evening, another very muggy night. Temperatures probably not dropping too far down past 20 Celsius, 17 perhaps in the countryside where it is a bit cooler. Sunrises at 04:47, nice start, but then we've got some showers moving in, some quite heavy thundery ones for a time, moving eastwards. Behind it, the air's a bit fresher. Still going to be nice and warm. We're looking at a maximum for Thursday of 26 Celsius, but it will feel a little bit cooler. That's your forecast.
Suck my kiss.
We're playing. Sorry? Oh, let's see. I'll do that. So we're playing Berry Poker. Okay, it's me. It's Catherine. We've got Pedigree Pete. Morning, Pete.
Morning.
We got Snuffers. You still there, Snuffers?
Yep.
Okay. And we've got Kelly Betts out there. Morning, Kelly.
Player.
Okay, so my turn. Sainsbury's. Hey! Come on!
Good.
Catherine.
Nice.
The funkiest kind of headgear.
Yeah.
Raspberry beret. Chew on that.
Pete, your turn.
I'm going to go for Berry Park.
Oh, local and vocal, and let's be honest, a little bit controversial at times. Kelly Betts.
My local, Berry Tap.
Oh, is that a pub?
Yes. Why not?
Snuffers.
Pillsbury Doughboy.
Pillsbury.
Yeah, I'm going to give him that. I'm going to give him that. By the way, it was Tony who started this game. Thank you, Tony. And I'm going to say this. This might be a little bit like clock.
Oh.
I've got one of those.
Library.
You can't have
No, you can't have that.
Oh,
All right.
I love it.
All right. Okay, so picture the scene. Right? It's the 1980s. You weren't born, Kelly. The world was a more peaceful place. School holidays. Yeah, they show some wicked TV programme on in the morning on BBC One, sometimes BBC Two, in the school holidays. They show the monkeys, for example. They'd also show something where the theme tune went a little bit like this. Thanks for the good times and the good times together. What show's that?
No idea.
Huckleberry Finn and Friends.
Yes.
Boom.
Okay.
Your turn.
Picture the scene.
Yeah.
You're on some sort of
You've got to get close to that mic because
You're
they're
on
rubbish.
some sort of military boat.
Yeah.
You've got the body of a dictator. He's controversial.
Yeah.
You can't take him back to land. What do you give him?
Yeah.
A burial at sea.
Hey, a burial. Pete, it's over to you.
I'm stupid. You caught me out on everything.
Are you out?
By the sounds of it, yeah, I am.
Please leave. Stuffers, turn your radio off, mate. Because it's sounding a little bit psychedelic. He's gone. Peter's gone. He's out. He's been. The bouncers have picked him up and chucked him out of the casino. Kelly Betts.
I need some help.
I'll tell you what you can have is. Hang on a second. You can have. Don't worry. We're going to give you a little bit of thinking time, because that's kind of like what we like to do. We like to help people. So let me just find the old thinking music.
I love Big Bum.
There we go.
Okay, picture the scene.
Yes.
There's a man.
Yeah.
With a speech impediment.
Oh
no.
Okay. Now let's go. No, let's go with it.
And
I think you're going to be leaving the club very, very soon. Yes.
he can only pronounce B's at the start of every word. So he'll say something like, "Best I'm very bay."
You're out of the game, Kelly
Why?
Betts. Because that's rubbish.
I know. It's awful.
Snuffers, your turn.
Elderberry.
Beautiful.
I'll have that. Oh, hang on a second. Woo. Who's this sexy lady that's walking into the casino wearing a very low-cut dress? Hi, what's your name, sexy lady? Is it Kate? Oh, hang on a second. Where is Kate? Oh, she's not. Kate! Oh, where's she gone? Oh, she's disappeared. Where is she? I've put her on. Where is she, Kelly Betts?
That's weather, sorry.
Oh, is that weather? Okay, fine. We're still a sexy lady. Right, my turn. Picture the scene. And this is a true story. Okay, this is a true story. A long time ago, you used to be able to go to HMV, buy CDs, take them, and then take them back.
Well.
And get the money back. Brrrap. Okay, it was
illegal.
It was illegal. It was the old-fashioned version of the Pirate Bay. It was called Your Mum's Hi-Fi. And one album I bought, and it was a very expensive album, very expensive. And I bought it, and I play it. I didn't like it. I taped 2 songs from it. I taped the hit and another song. I took the CD back to HMV. I said, "Oh, I've already got this. My mum bought it for me for my birthday. I've got 2 copies." "Not a problem, sir. Here's your money back." And as I walked out, I was singing the song. Went a little bit like this. "Oi, day for you. Did you have to let it linger? Did you have to? Did you have to? We are the Cranberries."
I stole that off a boyfriend.
Yeah, rubbish band. The Cranberries.
he's
Your
not having it
turn.
back.
Your turn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Picture the scene.
Yeah.
You've found the golden ticket.
Yep.
Right? You're being taken around the factory by Mr. Willy Wonka himself.
Hey, you've got to get close to the microphone.
He shows you the lickable wallpaper.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention your Veruca salt.
Yeah.
You say, "What's this?" He
Yeah.
says, "Pick a pineapple, it tastes like a pineapple. Lick
Yeah.
a banana, it tastes like a banana. Lick a snosberry, it tastes like a snosberry." Whoever's heard of a snosberry? Willy Wonka did.
Well, Snosbury, she's right. Kelly Betts, you're out of the game. Pete, Snuffers, sorry, it's you.
It's me.
Are you Snuffers?
Yes.
Then
I
it's
am
you.
Snuffers.
Then it's you, Snuffs.
Oh my God.
Yes, yes.
A Bearberry.
I what?
What?
Look it up. Bearberry. Bearberry.
Bearberry.
Oh, sorry.
What's a Bearberry? I'm going to Google it, mate. If I find it's not a thing, I'm going to just cut you off, and we're never going to speak to you ever again. Yeah.
Yeah.
A bear as in a teddy bearberry.
Oh, I've got one.
I mean, don't. It's not a teddy bearberry. It's a bearberry.
Fair play. It's a dwarf shrub. I'll give him that. My turn. So, picture the scene. Okay. Just looking at Twitter.
Are you Googling?
No,
if
I'm not
anybody
Googling.
is struggling, I have one and I can help.
I can't reach my berries. Why? They're highberries.
Oh.
Thank you. Go on.
I've made a career out of doing this voice. My name, Matt Berry.
Yeah, Matt Berry, you see. Kelly Betts, you're walking past the table. You can toss one in. It won't count for anything.
Okay. I am walking past the table,
Yep.
and it's because I'm a bit late to the game because I've just got back from Glastonbury.
Hey! Snuffers, your go.
It's a slight derivation of what is that the right word? Of
Yeah.
what you've just said. Arsenal's old football stadium, Highbury.
Goodbye, Snuffers. It's not a derivation. It's a downright thieveration. You nicked it. Unbelievable. Hang on a second. That was the fade out. Here we go. There's a last song from the Convoy album. We'll be playing more of this later.
He met her in a honky-tonk, singing country songs that he wrote. She sat at a table, listening to his music and drinking Coke. Well, he sat down beside her and said, "Honey, what's your name?" She said, "I like your music, sir. Fooling around, certainly not my game." When the small talk was over, the cowboy drank his beer, took her home. Lust on his mind in the bedroom, he had her all alone. And when the night was over, the cowboy shook his head. 'Cause she slept on the sofa and the cowboy slept alone on his bed.
What sort of videos have you got? Suck My Kiss. Dad Pop. Where did that idea come from?
It came from my brain.
I think that is a ridiculous idea.
She still sees the cowboy on country shows and sometimes on TV. He phones her up and talks to her long distance from wherever he might be. He'll ask her how she's doing. She'll reply by saying, "Oh, just fine." And the moral of this story is cowboys don't get lucky all the time. And the moral of this story is cowboys don't get lucky all the time.
Oh, man. I'm digging out my Convoy DVD this evening.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Getting heavy on the A1M going south at junction 7, the Stevenage turn. The A1's also solid going south from the Holiday Inn roundabout through to Stirling Corner, and really heavy on the anti-clockwise side of the M25 from the M1 at junction 21 to Watford at 19. Then again from 17 Maple Cross to 16 for the M40. The clockwise side not looking so bad right now. For the railways, Virgin Trains East Coast services running via Stevenage are being disrupted today. There are fewer trains running up to Leeds. Other services may also be delayed. There are speed restrictions in place because of the hot weather today. Chris Humphries, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Chris. 03459 455 555. You can text 81333. Start your text 3CR. We're going to put Berry Poker to one side and maybe we will resuscitate it tomorrow. Plenty more coming up, though. We'll find out what after the latest news. Here's Simon.
local and vocal across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's 7 o'clock. The headlines: schools to spot extremism, first bodies being flown home from Tunisia, and Luton sell their leading scorer.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
From today, schools have a statutory duty to prevent students from being drawn into terrorism. Teachers and students will have training to spot the early signs of extremism. More from Jessica Cooper.
The new rules under the Counter-Terrorism and Security Act apply to all schools, including nurseries. It means staff will have to undergo training to challenge extremist ideas and make sure students don't access terrorist material online. High Wycombe and Luton have been highlighted as two high-priority areas.
The first bodies of the British tourists who were killed in Tunisia will be flown home later today. Tributes have been paid to Chris Dyer from Watford, with fellow Watford supporters starting an online fund in his memory. Luton-based holiday firms Thomson and First Choice have confirmed 22 of the victims were their customers. The company's managing director, Nick Longman, gave a press conference at Luton Airport last night.
Over the coming days, priority remains to care for the bereaved, the injured, and to bring all those who wish to return home on our additional flights. We have returned 4,000 customers to date on 25 flights. We have a further 15 empty flights going out to Tunisia in the next 2 days, bringing back a further 1,900 customers.
The long-awaited report on expanding Britain's airports is being released this morning and recommends that a third runway be built at Heathrow. The report also says proposals for a second runway at Gatwick are credible, meaning the government will have the final decision. A teenager has been given a suspended sentence and a banning order for having sex with a 12-year-old girl in Hertfordshire. The 17-year-old told the court he believed the victim was 15. More from Tony Fisher.
The defendant met the 12-year-old in Parkfield Park in Potters Bar in September last year. After playing Spin the Bottle, they walked off together and started having sex by a log. He also took an indecent photograph of the girl. The defendant, who now lives in Suffolk, pleaded guilty to 2 counts of causing a child to engage in sexual activity and 1 of taking an indecent photo of a child. The judge gave him a 9-month jail sentence, suspended for 2 years, and banned him for having unsupervised access to girls under 16 for 5 years.
Temperatures in some parts of the UK are expected to reach 35 Celsius today, making it the warmest day for nearly 10 years. Health warnings have been issued. Train operators say services could be disrupted by rails becoming too hot. A number of operators are running a reduced service, including on the East Coast Main Line through Stevenage. In sport, Luton's leading scorer Mark Cullen has joined League One Blackpool for £180,000. Milton Keynes Dons goalkeeper David Martin has signed a new 2-year contract, and Hertfordshire-based Aliash Bedene has joined Andy Murray in the second round at Wimbledon. The Slovenian from Welwyn Garden City beat Radek Stepanek in 5 sets. The weather, another hot and sunny day, but feeling more humid, a maximum temperature 32 degrees Celsius. And you can get the latest news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties.
Thank you, Simon. Morning, guys. Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. 03459 455 555. Well, it's a busy show. We've spoken about radicalisation. Can someone tell me what radicalisation is? I don't really know what it means. I don't quite understand what it's supposed to mean. Bit of underage sex as well we've talked about. And we've said words that end in berry. It's been an action-packed first hour. 03459 455 555.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Now, schools have been given an extra duty from today, as well as making sure that their students can read, write and remember. Teachers are now supposed to make sure they don't become terrorists. From today, staff at nurseries, primary and secondary schools in the 3 counties will have to undergo training to spot the early signs of radicalisation. Well, Peter Kent is a head teacher and president of the Association of School and College Leaders. Morning, Peter.
Morning, Iain.
What exactly do teachers have to do now?
As I understand the duty that's been given to schools, it's really been seen as part of the the general safeguarding duties, to be on the lookout for signs of, as you say, radicalisation, which covers quite a broad set of ideas, and to provide support, training to their students, and really, I suppose, just to keep an eye on things.
We've had stories recently of kids going off to Syria and Iraq to join ISIS, and their parents not knowing that they had been, in inverted commas, radicalised. How are teachers supposed to spot it?
I think that's a very fair point, in that any of us can only do what is sort of reasonable and sensible. Our own association has been providing some training for school leaders in this area, and it's trying to make leaders aware of some of the more recent things that have been happening, some of the online social media ways that have been used as part of examples where people have become radicalised. But you're absolutely right. Schools and indeed as parents, there's only so much that can be done.
What has been going on social media to pervert the thought process of these young people?
Well, some of the things that our colleagues have mentioned is, for example, different ways of messaging and different messaging devices that might be used to contact students or to spread ideas. And I suppose it's to make schools aware of that. But again,
schools are aware of WhatsApp and Twitter, aren't they?
I think to a certain extent. I mean, my generation, I'm in my early 50s. I don't claim to be a great expert in it, so I found it very helpful to hear a little bit more about it and how some of these things work. But again, you can only go so far. I don't claim to be an incredible.
No, and also I would have thought if I was a 15-year-old lad that felt excluded and felt lonely and felt disaffected, as a lot of 15-year-old boys and girls do. But I felt angry. It's not going to be a hashtag on Twitter that makes me think, do you know what? I'm going to become a suicide bomber. I'm going to actively seek that out, aren't I?
I think that may be the case. So what schools need to do is to make this part of a broader pattern of education through the way in which ideas are passed on to students over a number of years. So it's not just keeping an eye out for that.
But you're the enemy.
Pattern. Say again?
You're the enemy.
In the sense that?
Well, in the sense that I'm the enemy. I'm the media. You're the white controlling class. You know, you are the people. The people who have a corrupt interpretation of Islam, who want these young people to go and do all the dirty work for them, they'll be telling these people that you are the enemy. So why would they listen to you? Of course, they're not going to believe anything that you or I say.
I think what I would say is that, in general, schools have a very positive relationship with their students. So
apart from the ones that go off to join ISIS?
Yeah, it's part of a long-term process of passing on information, building on that relationship. But I would say there is a good chance that schools can at least exercise a positive influence. But you're right to suggest that none of us has got a magic wand, but we've all got a responsibility, a duty to try and steer our students in the right direction.
Oh, of course, and that's
just as parents.
Yeah, of course, and that's why the best schools and the best teachers. It's not just learning about Shakespeare and how to read. It's also you would hope would provide a decent moral compass. Are you optimistic, Peter, that this initiative will have any impact whatsoever?
I think I'd build on what you've just said, Ian. I think it's something actually that schools have always sought to do. Now, it's important to understand how things have moved on, how technology is being used and some of these other things, so that you can carry on doing actually what, as you say, schools have always sought to do, and it's always been part of the broader education. So in that sense, I am optimistic. It's that you can't just have an instant solution.
No.
But it's all part schools, parents, and society working together. Won't work in isolation, but work together, yes, there is a chance.
All right. Peter, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Ian.
Thank you very much indeed. Peter Kent, head teacher, president of the Association of School and College Leaders. I just kind of hear straws being clutched. It sounds like, hey, we're doing something. 03459 455 555, or Sufyan Sadiq is a teacher in Luton who runs the Discover Islam Centre and has been lobbying against this bill. What's your beef, Sufyan?
Well, really, I've listened to what Peter has to say, and I think Peter has a very simplistic view of what this legislation is actually asking teachers to do. The bill is actually putting teachers in a position where they can actually be prosecuted. We're responsible for a huge amount of things, getting them becoming more employable, their English, their maths, all aspects of their education. And now we're also responsible for the fact that, you know what, we need to start policing their thoughts. We need to be part of this government agenda for some of these draconian measures. Some of the stuff that can't actually really be legislated or implemented in the way that the government has actually set itself out.
In what way policing their thoughts?
Well, if a young person, we've got such a rich education system that for years we've been encouraging young people to think out of the box. We've been encouraging young people to challenge ideas, to discuss topics.
Oh, I'd encourage young people to stop using the phrase thinking out of the box, but go on.
Yeah, but you're right in that one. But what we shouldn't be doing is that in a position now that we've got people that, and a lot of practitioners with very little training and very little understanding of either Islam or the whole concept of radicalization through some hatched up governmental training program, and now are going to be in a position that if a young person comes back and they've come back from a trip to pilgrimage and they've decided to wear the hijab or something, the teacher will now think, okay, I need to report.
But it's not. But you're saying it as though it's an attack on Islam. It's not. It's an attack on terrorism, isn't it? Sufyan, have we lost Sufyan? Do you want to try and get him back? See if we can get him back, as he seems to have disappeared. 03459 455 555. I don't. Well, hopefully we'll investigate Sufyan's disappointment with it. I don't think it'll work. It's not going to. If you're determined to go off and I don't know, shoot people on a beach, well, then you're going to do that. I don't think that because your head teacher has got his eyes and his ears open, that's necessarily going to have any effect. Am I being? It just feels to me like it's the government going, we're doing something. We're doing something. It's just completely ineffectual. 03459 455 555 is the telephone number. 81333. Start your text 3CR. You can email as well. Have we lost him?
Yeah, I'm getting the answer phone now. I'll keep trying.
Keep trying, because it was making an interesting point, and it would have been nice to have heard what that point was. Tell the young people the bombers go to a black hole, not paradise. I don't know. I don't quite know what that means, really. Where is he faded to? Oh, Sufyan, we've got you back.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, that's all right, don't mind. No, that's all right. One day they'll invent a mobile phone that will actually be able to make phone calls, and we will all dance and celebrate. It's not an attack on Islam, though, is it, this thing?
It is an attack on Islam. I don't think we can stand away and say that it's not an attack on Islam.
Tell me how it's an attack on Islam. Surely it's an attack on idiots that go around shooting people on beaches.
No, without a doubt, any aspects of violent extremism we have to come down tough on. But this isn't per se looking at violent extremism. This is also looking at the fact that we are no longer giving young people the opportunity to talk about things and discuss things within an education setting, the best way to actually tackle this whole ideology of extremism is to actually use schools and places like that to put across what real British values are.
Well, no, hang on, Sufyan. What the hell are real British values? What does that mean? That's one of the... Don't start spouting nonsense.
Then, and that is exactly the challenging part here. Everyone's talking about British values.
I'm not, because it's a meaningless phrase. It's a meaningless phrase.
But to you it might be, and to me it's probably absolutely totally ambiguous as to what it is.
But you just said it.
But if you're looking at the CCS bill, that's what it's talking about. It's talking about instilling British values in young people.
But why is it an attack on Islam?
Because it is not. It's not. The bill does look in one particular religion. It's targeting
Sufyan,
from one particular background.
Do you know why?
Because yes, there's an issue with extremism.
Yeah,
and
that's it's specifically dealing. Well, no, you are a little bit, with the greatest respect. No, it's specifically dealing. I mean, I think it's ineffectual, but it's not an attack on Islam. It's specifically dealing with Islamic extremism. So, hey, guess what? It's going to focus on Islam. It's not an attack on Islam. It's an attack on nut jobs.
Yeah, no doubt. So you might say, but it's not. It's taking civil liberties. It's taking away the things that we value so much.
You've not given me one example. Give me an example of where it's taking away civil liberties.
So a young person cannot express themselves or express any thoughts about foreign policy within the school without this being reported to the police.
Where does it say that? You can't express it. They can't express it. No. It won't happen, Sufyan. You're being paranoid. Where does it say they can't express an opinion on foreign policy?
Because if, amongst some of the indicators, if foreign policy, talking about things like somebody's sudden change in behaviour and they've put on a hijab on or a scarf on, becoming more Islamically spiritual, being more in tune with their faith, suddenly is an indicator for a teacher in a class that's not trained to highlight and flag this young person as a person at risk of now being an extremist. Therefore, the school now has a duty to report this person to the police. It's going a bit too far, a bit of police state, a thought police.
Oh, Sufyan.
You can deny that.
I'm denying it, mate. And I'm going to go even further. I'm going to say you're talking rubbish, mate. It's not a police state.
And so it's not a police state. We're young people. We're talking about the fact that we're asking teachers to spy, essentially, really, on our young people.
This is part of the... Can I tell you what? Right. This is part of the problem. With the greatest of respect, sir, you are part of...
Go ahead.
I will do. You are part of the problem.
How?
Because you're spouting phrases like police state and thought control. Mate, it's nonsense. You're not going to go to prison because you're a 16-year-old that says, do you know what, I don't agree with the Iraq war. You're not going to go to prison for that. And what you're saying is kind of quite dangerous.
But look, what I'm saying is a 16-year-old now that will be scared or apprehensive about saying what they're thinking.
Because of people like you saying they should be scared and apprehensive.
No, because they now know that, okay, I can't speak openly. That creates
Yes, they can, Sufyan. Yes, they can.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Where does it say? Where does it say in this bill? And I'm sure. Have you read it all?
Yes, I have been.
You've read it all. You've read it all. Okay.
I've been through a lot with the bill, and I've been part of lobbying for it for the last 6 months.
So where does it say? Read the bit to me, Sufyan, in the bill that says, if a 16-year-old objects to the invasion of Iraq, they will be reported to the police.
If you're looking at. And you listen to Theresa May. You listen
No. I'm not listening. I'm listening to you, Sufyan. Sufyan, I'm talking to you. Where does it say in the bill? Where does it say in the bill if a 16-year-old objects to the invasion of Libya that they will be reported to the police?
If a 16-year-old shows certain signs and starts talking about foreign policy, that should be an indicator, and that is one of the indicators that they talk about. An indicator, foreign policy is one of them.
Yeah, it's one of them, and so it's going to be. There's going to be a whole list of them. You're not going to get reported to the police because in a debate about politics or geography, you say, do you know what? I don't think that we had a decent exit strategy for Libya. You're not going to get reported to the police for that, and it's dangerous that you suggest that that's the case.
No, because you're talking about, you're assuming that, you know what, you're not going to do it, but there's people out there that are not going to be trained in how to really deal with this
legislation. And then so a teacher goes to the police and says, we've got a kid here.
Give me an opportunity. So somebody puts this out, somebody puts their view out. The one thing we want is we want people to put views out like that, and we want to challenge them.
And that's what schools want. Schools want people to put views forward.
Yes, but we're creating a vacuum where...
No, we're not, mate. You are. You are, Sufyan.
We're creating a vacuum.
You're creating a dangerous vacuum. Right, if a teacher... as a kid...
groups can really pick up on the fact that young people cannot speak...
No, but Sufyan, what you're... Right, you're getting me really angry, because what you're saying is incorrect, it is a lie, and is really dangerous. Kids, young people... It is nonsense, Sufyan. It is nonsense, mate.
You've made your mind up.
And you've made your mind up that you're going to spout dangerous, divisive rubbish.
And it's not dangerous.
It is dangerous to make young
dangerous.
people that you have a responsibility towards, to make them think that they can't express their views in school. Of course they can. The best schools will encourage everybody to express their views.
No, they're not. Because if a young Muslim person expresses their views, a young Muslim person will be treated differently.
Incorrect. Dangerous and divisive.
They will be reported. No, it's
dangerous and divisive. And what you're saying is part of the problem.
It's a fact.
It's not a fact, Sufyan. And what you're saying is so dangerous and is so divisive, and it is. You are stirring up a division.
No, I'm not. You see us stirring up division because you're not from that one isolated community that's totally being targeted by this legislation.
Do you know why it's this community that's being looked at? Do you understand why it's this community? No, do you understand why it's this community that's being looked at, Sufyan? Do you understand?
And what you don't understand, what the key drivers and the creative factors that create a vacuum for the extremists. And what we're doing is we're playing.
You're whipping up a lovely little bit of poor me for the extremists as well to prey on. Do you know why it is Islam that is being focused on?
Would you like to tell me?
Do you know why it is Islam that is being focused on?
Because there's extremists out there that are using young people to...
Because every major terrorist act that's gone on recently, the person has claimed... Now, I am fully aware that it is a complete, excuse my French, bastardisation of Islam. It is a complete twisting of Islam, and Islam is a peaceful religion.
And I agree.
Every terrorist act has been claimed by... Every terrorist act. The most recent terrorist acts, including the one in Tunisia, has been claimed by a Muslim organisation, has been claimed by people who claim to be doing it in the name of Islam. So that is why it's being targeted. It's not an attack on Islam. It's because these attacks have been done in the name of Islam.
And these attacks are being done in the name of Islam.
So that's why it's being targeted by this bill.
Therefore, we need to deal with the issue.
That's what this bill is aiming to do.
It's not because you know what? Tomorrow you're going to say that, okay, you know what? Even the acts, the terror act, and so on. Where's the results in the last 7-8 years? We've had many acts of legislation that have come around this. Where's the evidence to suggest that eroding away civil liberties has actually had any impact in reducing terrorism?
That's not what we're discussing. Okay. No, you've changed this from... You've changed it from, this is an attack on Islam, oh, poor me, we are being picked on, to none of the previous legislation has worked. I don't know if any of the previous legislation has worked. I don't think this will work, but it's not an attack on Islam.
So how will it? You tell me. Do you reckon that it will reduce extremism?
I don't think it will. I don't think it will work, Sufyan. But that's not the argument that you're putting forward. You're putting it forward that it's an attack on Islam.
It won't work. What it will do is it will drive people. It will drive those young people that may have some of these thoughts that we can actually pick up in the way Peter said, in a general safeguarding way, the way teachers are. If they notice something's going wrong, they'll pick up on it. But now putting this whole legislative approach to it, all of these key indicators that you need to look up for, all of this reporting to the police, is going to drive them underground. They're not going to be talking about.
I tell you what's going to have more of a negative impact.
That's where we're going to have a problem.
I'll tell you
we're going to give a vacuum to extremists out there. The problem is you don't actually understand what drives them, what motivates them.
Okay, you tell me, Sufyan. You tell me, Sufyan.
You're speaking from outside, not understanding what the drivers are.
You tell me then what drives them, because I bet you ain't got a clue.
No, I'll tell you what does drive them.
I bet you ain't got a clue.
Legislation like this did not
create IS.
It is fuel for them. It's fuel for them because it allows them.
Sufyan.
It allows them to say to young people that, you know what, the whole world is against you, and you're not going to get an opportunity to talk about your face.
So this to one side.
You can't grow a beard. You can't start praying.
No one said you can't grow.
You might have a problem with it.
Sufyan, you're talking nonsense. Let's put this to one side. What drove them before this legislation? Because you claim to know, and I bet you don't. But what do you think drove them before this legislation?
I'm not saying there are not.
No. You've just accused me of not knowing. Well, that implies you know because you're from within that community. So tell me.
What I'm saying is what is driving some of the young people to be attracted to them now is because they're going in using the aspects like these
This
guys
has
are
only
all
just started.
against
I'm
your
asking you,
faith,
Sufyan,
and nobody is against our faith.
I am
So
asking
we
you to
can-
put this legislation to one side because this has only just come in, okay? Put this legislation to one side. Let's take your premise that this will create more terrorists, all right? I think actually what you're doing is quite dangerous and quite divisive. Let's put that to one side. Let's put that to one side. You've just accused me of not...
I didn't say it will create more terrorists.
Okay, you've just accused me. Sufyan, listen. You've just said to me, because I'm outside of this community, I'm assuming you mean the Muslim community, I don't know what drives these people. So you tell me what drives these people then.
Acts of legislation like the anti-terror law, and when people are talking about Islam who don't understand Islam.
No, Sufyan.
No. So when people are talking, you've asked me to talk.
But put the legislation to one side. Put the legislation to one side. You can't blame people. No, you're not. You've just mentioned the legislation. You've just mentioned it again.
The legislation.
What drives these people?
The lack of understanding that people have about Islam, they are using to their advantage to say to people and to say to young people that we're not allowed to practice our faith freely, that everyone in this world, the media and everyone included in this world is anti-Islam, when it's not true. It's an absolutely absurd rhetoric that they're pushing out, making an already disenchanted young teenager going through normal teenage years of trialing things and experimenting things, suddenly picking up this idea that, you know what, the whole world is against me. And that's the kind of young person that they're tapping into. Now, what we want is young people like that to be able to explore ideas, speak about ideas, get challenged in schools. What we don't want is them young people to think, oh my God, and their parents to be telling them, don't you dare talk about foreign policy or Palestine or Iraq or anything like that. When you're in school, because your teacher might report you. We've got up and down the country, we've got examples of young girls that have put a hijab on, and teachers have and schools have reported them to their local safeguarding and prevent.
Where did that happen, Sufyan? Where did that happen?
There's cases up and down the country.
Give me one example. No, Sufyan, I'm not letting you get away with that. I'm not letting you get away with that. Give me one example where a young lady wearing a hijab has been reported to the police.
Okay, I can guarantee
in
you
school.
one thing. I
want to focus on that.
No, I'm not fobbing you off. The Prevent is an existing strategy that's
Give me one example where a girl has turned up at school in a hijab has been reported to the police. One example.
You want a specific example, and no,
yes,
I
mate.
can't give you a specific
because you haven't got any.
No, it's not.
Because you haven't got any.
If you said to me, okay, give me half now, I'll get you one. But the point is, Prevent exists, and you probably don't understand the Prevent strategy has been in existence.
I'll tell you what, Sufyan,
for some time.
I'll speak to you just after 8. You've got half an hour. Find me a specific example of where a young lady has gone to school in a hijab and has been reported to the police for wearing the hijab. Can you do that?
I will look into it and I'll get back to you.
You've got half an hour.
Yep.
I'm going to speak freely, Sufyan.
Yep, go ahead.
I think it's people like you that are putting out this nonsense idea that young people are not allowed or will not be allowed because of the government to explore ideas, to discuss politics, to discuss the pros and the cons, the goods and the bads, the worthiness and the mistakes of invading various countries. It's people that are saying they can't talk about that school when it's not true that is causing divisions, that is causing the vacuum. I think what you're saying is quite dangerous.
No, but that's your opinion because you assume you're outside of education. You assume that
I'm not. I've got kids in school, so I'm not.
Putting this responsibility on teachers, doctors, social workers, whatever not. Yeah, you assume that you know what? This is naturally something that happens in schools, and of course they're going to continue to encourage it. But it puts people under a lot of pressure because some of these girls that probably went over to Syria. Now, if some teachers somehow and people, all these practitioners involved are being blamed, there may have been signs that they could have picked up on, but there may be no signs that they
I've
could
not
have
blamed
picked up
teachers.
On. But what I'm saying is some people will be looking at
You're
that.
Changing the argument to it's not fair from they can't discuss things to it's not fair on teachers. I don't think it's fair on teachers. I agree with you on that.
They can't because I don't think when you move forward with this legislation that a person can start talking about the fact that, you know what, I totally disagree with the treatment of people in Palestine.
No, it's not. Sufyan,
and
I've got
so on,
Sufyan.
because
I've got to
it's an
move on.
indicator.
No.
It's an indicator.
Yeah,
and
okay,
you
Sufyan.
can't deny that. It's an indicator, and
Sufyan,
it's listed out by them as one of the indicators.
Sufyan, I'll speak to you in half an hour when you give me a specific example of a girl who's been reported to the police because she turned up at school in a hijab, yeah?
Reported to Prevent.
That's not what you said!
Prevent is the police.
Okay, so I want a specific example, because you said it's happening up and down the country.
It has happened because Prevent...
Well, then, at 8 o'clock...
That's why Prevent's failing. That's
at
why
8
the Muslim
o'clock...
community
I've
has
got to
not
go, Sufyan.
engaged with Prevent. Prevent has been there.
Sufyan, I've got to go, because I've already missed one Travel and One News. I'll speak to you after 8 o'clock, and I look forward to hearing that specific example of where a young girl has turned up at school in a hijab and has been reported to the police, OK?
OK.
Thank you very much.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Slowing down on the A41 now, heading into Aylesbury from the Woodlands roundabout. Also getting heavy on the A5, heading between Lynch Hill in Markyate and the M1 at Redbourne. And then the M1 itself, slow going south towards Redbourne 2, coming from Luton Airport Spur Road at Junction 10. The A1, that's queuing going south from the Holiday Inn roundabout in Boreham Wood through to Stirling Corner. And also slowing down on the A10 from the Turnford turn-off in Cheshunt through to the M25 at Enfield. And the anti-clockwise M25 itself, heavy now from Junction 21 for the M1, right round to 16 for the M40. And Virgin Trains East Coast services via Stevenage, I should say, have been disrupted because of today's hot weather. There are speed restrictions in place, so do expect some delays. Chris Humphries, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Across beds, hearts and bugs.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's 7:30. I'm Simon Oxley. A Luton teacher has criticised new guidance from the government that's been given to help them spot children who are in danger of being radicalised, with High Wycombe and Luton highlighted as two priority areas. An independent commission has recommended building a third runway at Heathrow, subject to severe restrictions to reduce the environmental and noise impact. And the first bodies of the British tourists who were killed in Tunisia will be flown home later today. Tributes have been paid to Chris Dyer from Watford, with fellow Watford supporters starting an online fund in his memory.
Three Counties Sports.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Luton's leading scorer Mark Cullen has joined League One Blackpool for £180,000. Cullen scored 14 goals last season, but manager John Still says the player made it clear he wanted to move north to be closer to home. Luton say the fee could double with add-ons and a sell-on clause. New Watford head coach Quique Flores says staying in the Premier League is the main aim next season. He was introduced to the media yesterday and says that Jose Mourinho has already told him what it'll be like.
Mourinho told me he told me after the lunch, he told me, Quique, the Premier is the paradise of the manager. Yes.
Milton Keynes Dons goalkeeper David Martin has signed a new 2-year contract. It follows yesterday's 3 new arrivals, including Welsh international striker Simon Church.
I want to get back to scoring goals, really. I've been frustrated the last 2-3 years now with things that have gone off the pitch, possibly stopping me from playing, and I just want a fresh start now and focus on getting back to where I was.
Wycombe have signed winger Jason Banton after he left Plymouth. Wanderers have also signed Danny Rowe from Rotherham on a 3-year deal, having had him on loan last season. Elsewhere, Leicester have sacked manager Nigel Pearson, and the USA are through to the Women's World Cup final after beating Germany 2-0. England's women face Japan in the early hours of tomorrow morning. Andy Murray is through to the second round at Wimbledon after a straight sets win over Mikhail Kukushkin of Kazakhstan, and Hertfordshire-based Aljaž Bedene from Slovenia beat Radonek Stepanek in 5 sets. He's been living in Welwyn Garden City since 2008. This is his first Wimbledon as a British citizen. And in golf, 2-time US Open champion Retief Goosen won a playoff to secure a place at next month's British Open in yesterday's qualifying at Woburn, but Colin Montgomery missed out. BBC Three Counties News and Sport. The next full bulletin is at 8.
This is Iain
Thank
Lee.
you, Simon.
On BBC Three Counties Radio.
OK. Couple of things to address. Jill, I've upset Jill. Jill, I'm sorry. OK, you've misinterpreted what I was saying. Iain, straight after the 6 o'clock news announcing the return of the bodies of the Tunisian disaster, you go on about looking at the cost of holidays and if they are cheap or not. It was dealt with in a tactless and disrespectful manner. My cousin genuinely knows the girl from Gainsborough and is still in shock. It's the area I grew up in. I've got a lot of family. You are not being funny on this occasion. I was offended. It wasn't meant to be funny. Genuinely sorry if you were offended. Not the intention. Wasn't meant to be funny. It wasn't a gag. It was, if you remember the bulletin, it was wrong on so many levels. Refrain from comments on this in this style in the future. Jill, thank you. I'm sorry if you're offended. I won't. It wasn't meant to be a joke. If you remember in the bulletin, it was, if I can remember this correctly, Thompson was saying they were going to fly out another 15 flights or another 4 flights or something for those people that wanted to go home. It surprised me that there might be some people that did not want to go home that would feel comfortable staying in Tunisia. I know I wouldn't. And I kind of wanted to see, and maybe I didn't explain this point clearly enough, I kind of wanted to see if they were still selling holidays to Tunisia, because who in their right mind would want to go there? No one, surely. If I've got that wrong, 03459 455 555. So it wasn't a joke. It wasn't meant to be funny. I wasn't doing it as a gag. But genuinely sorry if you were offended. And a couple of tweets on the last guest. Muslim mum wife says... Iain talking over his guests and not letting them make a point, as usual. And then, wow, well done. Thank you. This is the second tweet she sent. Oh, no, she's having a pop. You just accused your guest for giving extremists ammunition and then does the same himself. Not quite sure what ammunition I was giving to extremists. If you want to give us a call, Muslim mum wife, 03459 455 555. And there's me the other day saying we don't normally do the Muslim, and I'm doing inverted commas with my fingers, stories. I just thought that this law does not say you cannot have thoughts and you cannot express your thoughts and discuss things in classrooms. And to suggest that is really, really dangerous. And that will, what am I trying to say? The disaffected will be, this is a clunky sentence, the disaffected will be even more disaffected by hearing something like that. See, I told you! The government don't want us to think. You see? That David Cameron won't even let us discuss whether the invasion of Iraq was appropriate or not. You see, guys? Come to us. That's that. 03459 455 555 81333 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call. Have I got a call on this? It's not.
Yeah, but we really need to go to John Cameron.
Okay, let's go to John first. Okay. Let me just find this because I'm going to move this system around here. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, we'll do that in a second. Right, so... A 17-year-old boy has been placed on the sex offenders register after a game of spin the bottle in Hertfordshire. It turned out the 15-year-old girl he was attempting to have intercourse with was actually 12. Well, the judge accepted the girl had appeared to consent but handed down a 9-month suspended jail sentence and given a sexual harm prevention order banning him from having unsupervised access to girls under 16 for 5 years. John Cameron is head of child protection at the NSPCC. Morning, John. Thank you for your patience.
Morning,
it's been
Mary.
a very busy
Hi.
show this morning. What are your thoughts on this case?
Well, each case has to be obviously taken individually. We don't know the precise details of these particular circumstances, but what we do know is that a lot of children are victims of sexual abuse, and probably surprising to a lot of your audience, a lot of those perpetrators are children themselves. We know, for instance, in the last 2 years that something like 8,000 children have been brought to the attention of the police and accused of sexual offences against children. That in itself can be very worrying. So both victims and perpetrators who are underage need support and help.
It's so hard to I'm going to talk frankly, and I'm not in any way. My language might be clunky. I'm not in any way condoning what this gentleman did. I'm not in any way, of course, condoning sex with underage children. Of course, let's get that out of the way because I'm going to sound clunky. But what responsibility should a 17-year-old boy take if he thinks the girl is 15? I know it's underage, but it's significantly different from 12. If he thinks the girl is 15 and all the indicators physically and emotionally are that the girl is 15, what is a 17-year-old boy supposed to do in that situation?
Well, 17-year-olds know, I think, that you shouldn't be having sexual relationships with children under 16.
Yeah,
but we practically know, don't we, that this often happens. And, children have got to exercise responsibility as well. I think what worries us is that 17-year-old and the victim here, the 12-year-old, I suspect, are under a lot of also social pressure to have sexual relationships at an early age as well. And the big worry for us is that both girls and boys, they view pornography. Boys often view it more frequently than girls. Access to pornography and access to other kind of pressures that are placed on childhood means that I think that children are being sexualized far earlier, and there's a lot more pressure for them to have those sexual relationships.
Oh man, I've got two boys who are 5 and 3, so we are some years away from this. But the freedom with which the young people can access, hardcore pornography, it's terrifying. When back in my day, it was it was a copy of Razzle in the Bushes. It sounds flippant, but that's kind of what it was. But now you can carry the most amazing filth around on your phone in your pocket. It's terrifying.
You're quite right, Ian. Children can, one day we used to, the advice that we used to have for parents was, look, if a child's got access to a computer, make sure that that they're viewing it in the living room, for instance, or where you can see them. But of course, we know now that children have mobile phones. They go out and they can access the internet by their mobile phone.
And if you lock your kid's phone, there's no guarantee that their mate Steve's phone is going to be locked.
Exactly. And what is happening is hard porn, called pornography, is warping children's minds without a shadow of a doubt. What they're seeing is they're expected that they're beginning to view this like it's normal behaviour. So that they're trying to mimic what they're seeing on this material. And also, of course, children are creating their own pornography and their own sexual images by sexting, and so kids are being placed under huge amounts of pressure from other children as well. So parents have a very, very important role to play. So your listeners who've got very young children, obviously you can talk to them about our underwear rule, talking to young children about what's private and not. But for older children, I think children need to have the confidence about issues of consent, and they need to have the confidence to say, no, I don't want to get into that sexual relationship, and I will not be viewed by my peers as being weird and strange because I don't want to have sexual relationships when I'm 12, 13 and 14. We've got to change the mindset of a lot of young children.
You mentioned consent. An interesting line in this is that the judge accepted the girl had appeared to consent. That kind of sits. The thing that's been highlighted, that kind of sits uncomfortably with me. I don't quite know why, though.
Well, and it sits uncomfortably with me as well, because we often hear about, for instance, for very old people who have sexual relationships with young children, when clearly that is wrong and they should be prosecuted, and punished on that. But, a lot of paedophiles will say, well, the child offered consent, and often children are groomed in a way to believe that this is normal behaviour. And what we do hear from a lot of children is that pressure that they're under, and whilst they feel that they can say no, in reality, the pressures are such that they're not able to say no. And we've got to be able to encourage children, give children the freedom to actually say, I'm not actually ready for this type of relationship, and I'm not going to be pressurized. But we know if you hear children speaking in school playground, a lot of girls and boys are always talking about, their possible relationships they're having, sexualized relationships that they're having, and under huge amounts of pressure. Schools, parents, we all have a role to play in enabling children to live a childhood as opposed to an adulthood. They've got plenty of years to go into adulthood.
John, listen, I really appreciate your time this morning. It's good to have a chat. We'll have a chat again at some point soon. Thank you. John Cameron, Head of Child Protection at the NSPCC. We were talking about this new legislation. Just remind me what this legislation is, Catherine.
This is that it's incumbent now on teachers to look out for the risk of radicalisation amongst their students. So we're talking from nursery schools upwards.
We spoke to Peter Kent, who's the president of the Association of School and College Leaders, and also Sufyan Siddiq, who we'll be speaking to just after 8, who is a teacher in Luton and runs the Discover Islam Centre. Khan's on the line. Morning, Khan.
Good morning, Ian.
What you got for us, Khan?
Yeah, in response to that guy, Sufyan, I'm a British-born Muslim, Pakistani. Basically, when I was listening to him, I don't normally ring in. To be honest with you, he was just so interesting in the sense that when I was hearing that Sufyan speak and argue with you and try to put his point across, which actually made no sense, the words of David Cameron recently, when he said that there are some members of our society or in our communities that quietly condone these people, sprung to my mind. Iain, people like Sufyan are the ones. They are the dangerous people within our community because they are teachers. They're in that position where they should not bleat on and on and on about foreign policy. Do you think the people of ISIS actually give a monkeys about foreign policy? These terrorists, Iain, all over the world, yeah, they are just one word for them. They are power hungry.
But a lot of the, ISIS and IS, whatever it is we call them today, there is a strong argument that they were created because of our foreign policy. That they were created because of the war in Iraq. They are allowed to travel freely because of the Libya. Yeah, go on.
No. Why then, if that was the case, then their issue is strictly against our foreign policy, what's their justification for killing Shias every day?
Well, they can have two arguments for existence. They can have many reasons for existence, but yes, it could be argued, and I don't fully know, but it could be argued that the invasion of Iraq, hey, we killed a lot of innocent people when we were over there, that helped create it. And also, the removal of Colonel Gaddafi, rightly or wrongly, from Libya, has allowed a lot of terrorist organisations to grow and to spread.
Made that country unstable, definitely, 100%. But then the reason I am against let's blame the British foreign policy all the time, is simply because where was the British? Okay, where were these people, the ones who so-called bleat on about foreign policy? Where were they when the Balkans War happened? Who went there and helped the Muslims?
Oh yeah, Tony Blair in I think it's in Croatia is, and I've got to go in a second because I've been late for so many news and trouble. Yeah. Tony Blair, I think in Croatia, is seen as a hero. Not Croatia, it's somewhere else. Where am I thinking of, Catherine? Where we...
Exactly.
The Balkans.
The Balkans. He's seen as a hero. Yeah. And there are loads of kids, this is a fact, there are loads of kids in the Balkans called Tony Blair. That is fact. They're called Tony Blair.
I've got to go as well, Iain. I've got to go as well. And long story short, it's people like Sufyan who are full of hypocrisy.
OK, listen, Carl, I'm going to go because Sufyan's not here to defend himself, but thank you. Fact that, in the Balkans, loads of kids called Tony Blair because he's seen as a hero. And, it could be argued that what we did in the Balkans was heroic. It could be argued that what we did in Iraq was illegal and shameful. All of these arguments are valid, and kids are not being discouraged from discussing this in schools.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Delays building now on the A414 along Breakspear Way, heading between the centre of Hemel Hempstead and the M1 at Junction 7. The M1 itself slowing down going south from the Luton Airport Spur Road at Junction 10 to Redbourne at 9. There are also delays towards Redbourne on the A5 as you head away from Markyate towards Junction 9. The A41, that's slowing down heading into Aylesbury, I should say, from Aston Clinton. And the A41 also slowing down from Hemel Hempstead down to the M25 at Junction 20, the Kings Langley turn. And the anti-clockwise side of the M25, heavy right the way around from the M1 at Junction 21 to the M40 at 16. And Virgin Trains East Coast services via Stevenage being delayed today. There are speed restrictions just because it's so hot out there. Chris Humphries, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, that's right. Trains are slowing down because it's hot. Can't go too fast in the heat. 7:47, it is Wednesday the 1st of July. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. From today, schools have a statutory duty to prevent students from being drawn into terrorism, with High Wycombe and Luton highlighted as two priority areas. The long-awaited report on expanding Britain's airports recommends a third runway be built at Heathrow, and the first bodies of the British tourists who were killed in Tunisia will be flown home later today. Let's get the weather. Here's Kate.
Beds, Herts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. It's another very hot and humid day. We had a hot and humid night last night. Temperatures barely dipped below 20 Celsius. And today it's going to be hotter than yesterday. We're looking at a maximum later of 32 Celsius. A bit more cloud today, so UV levels not quite as high as yesterday, but you still need sunscreen, you still need sun hats, and a heat health level warning 2. Level 2 has been issued. If you need to know what that means, do check the Met Office website. Sunsets at 21:24 overnight. Predominantly dry, actually, but by dawn we should see a little bit of cloud moving in, and with it some thundery showers. Minimum temperature 17 Celsius, so another hot and sticky night. Minimum sunrise is rather at 4:47 tomorrow morning. Get it right. And tomorrow starting off okay, but that cloud I was talking about bringing with some thundery showers through the morning. Once they pass later on tomorrow afternoon, it should be a decent day, and temperatures feeling fresher, although still warm. 26 Celsius the max for Thursday. That's your forecast.
Nick Coffer on BBC Three Counties Radio.
The book is all about how you can use nature to make walking a detective game. There's no cost to spending 10 minutes looking at all this stuff. 3 mums from Hertfordshire have got something a little bit different planned. This weekend they're walking the 100 kilometres.
We've done lots of training and we're aiming to complete it within 24 hours.
Nick Coffer.
Is that a maze in front of your house?
It's called a parterre.
Oh, it's a parterre, is it?
I planted it myself with 540 plants, so I know it's a parterre.
Award-winning Milton Keynes sports journalist Mike Calvin has written Gareth Thomas's autobiography.
I've got to think what you think, I've got to see what you see, I've got to hear what you hear, and that will be an inherently painful process.
Nick Coffer, weekdays from 12 on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Oh, we got any texters?
Yeah, loads.
Okay, I'm going to download some
unsurprisingly.
Peter audio while you do that. Thank you.
Sufyan says, Tony, you disappointed me with your views. The schools and this nation's activity encourage people to air their opinions and views. What we don't want is for people to keep their dangerous notions to themselves. Speak up, tell us what you think is wrong and what is right. I need to be educated in why someone wants to be a terrorist. Snuffers says, massive assumption from Sufyan that all teachers are non-Muslim, who by very nature of being non-Muslim wouldn't understand. And Debbie says, she says, I'm listening to this Sufyan on your show, and there's only one thing I need to say: there lies our problem. Well, hopefully we'll speak to him in about 15 minutes time, and we'll find out a bit more, because he said he was going to find a specific case, didn't he?
You know what I think? Oh no, hang on, why is he not working? Hang on a second.
A wind in time saves lives.
That's what I think. Mickey's on the line. Morning, Mickey.
Good morning.
What you got for us, boss?
I'm going to be honest with you. The reason I phoned up was to speak to that Sufyan bloke, because he was making my blood boil, and it would have been quite nice for me to have a little convo with him. But,
well, he's not here now. But what would you have said to him?
I mean, the long and short of it is, it's people like him that we need to report. I mean, I have a fair amount of Muslim friends, more so than I do non-Muslim friends, but there is a particular section of people that follow Islam that just have this underlying hatred for the Westerns and the British culture and the way that we run things, and one of them is that gentleman, and I don't think any protocols or process we put in place will ever change that. I think we've given too much liberation and too much freedom to them that now we can't go back.
What freedoms have we given that you would like to retract?
If you go around this country and you see the amount, and it's not necessarily a negative thing, if you see how much freedom they have to express their religion, you go to Luton, you go down the high streets, you see the mosque, you see the amount of people, it's just the percentage of which we have let it come to is just too much.
Well, what's too much? What, the number of mosques is too much?
Yeah, we've given too much freedom. It should have been a Christian country. However, I don't believe in religion. But
hang on. You can't say it should have been a Christian country and then say, but I don't believe in religion. So it doesn't matter what religion it is then.
No, of course it does, because my belief doesn't come into this. I personally think that religion is stupid, and I personally frown upon anybody that has religious beliefs, and I feel you're slightly less educated if you do believe in religion, but that's another argument. What I do believe is this country was originally a Christian country.
Yeah, and hasn't been... Well, but hang on. You're saying you're not religious and that you think that anybody who is religious is a bit dumb, but you're harking back to the days, which were a long time ago, when this was a Christian country as though that were a good thing. Do you not see the contradiction in your argument?
No, not at all, because the basis of how we run this country were based on Christianity.
Which you don't believe in, and you think the people that believe in it are stupid?
That's correct. I don't believe in religion as a thing, but what I
But you
do
want us to go
believe in
back
is
to being a
some of-
Christian country?
If you'd like me to speak, I'd be most,
I'm
most happy with that.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you would, Mickey. But I'm just amazed that you can't see the ridiculousness of your argument. So people who believe in religion are stupid, but you want us to go back to being a Christian country?
Yeah, because what I'm saying is that the things that we follow within the rules of Christianity are not stupid.
No,
loving each
okay.
other, being kind to each other.
Yeah, that's the
not
rules.
stupid.
That's the rules of Islam as well, mate.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is there's a larger ratio of people within Islam that don't follow that religion. If they follow the rules of Christianity, and that's the same as Islam, then what's the difference, right?
Maybe I'm missing something, Mickey, because it sounds to me like that is the weakest paper-thin argument I've ever heard. But that might just mean me being dumb. I don't know. I don't like religion. It's stupid, but I want to go back to us being a Christian country because there's too many of those mosques. Do you know why? Do you know who pays for those mosques? It's us, the taxpayer. No, it's not. It's them. They buy the land, they buy the buildings, and they build them. People say, it's too many mosques, there's not enough churches. Well, do you know why? Because people want to go to mosques and people don't want to go to churches. You want a church, then you go and buy a building and you build a church. You go and buy some land, you build a church. No one's doing it because no one wants to go to church. Sheila's on the line. Good morning, Sheila.
Good morning, Ian.
How are you doing? You all right?
I'm fine. You made a comment about who wants to go to a place like Tunisia. I believe.
Yes.
Right. Well, my cousin flew out with a friend on the day of the problem where everybody was getting shot.
Flew out on the day?
Well, she arrived after.
Oh, flipping it. Go on, yeah.
But Thompson sent them to another hotel. And I text her...
Were they supposed to go to that hotel where it happened?
Yes. So what happened was they sent them to another hotel, and I texted her because... apparently, Thompson had said to them, right, if you want to go home, you can, but it's going to take 2 or 3 days. Their holiday was only for a week. So where they were, they felt it was okay. And I got a text back saying, having a fab time in another hotel, and the Tunisians couldn't be more apologetic. And we're having a lovely time and we feel completely safe. And then she said, bless them.
When you say, and it's interesting, and I'm sure that the Tunisians will be.
She's a younger person. We're not talking about 60-odd. We're talking about sort of 30-odd.
To be 30-odd again, blimey. It's interesting because I'm sure the Tunisians must be as devastated as we are, if not more so, that this has happened. When she says they're being apologetic, what does she mean by that?
I guess that I can't put the words in.
No.
I only got a text. But what I mean is I expect when she means apologetic, when some people's talking to you and they're sort of saying, we're very sorry about what's happened. It's not us. We're very sorry. I
Isn't that
expect
incredible?
she said they complete, but she ended the conversation with, but we feel completely safe where we are.
Do they? Because I would really struggle to relax on the beach in that environment.
But it might be that where they are in their hotel is a different slightly area, or they don't go up to the beach.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the news, you'll see that there's nobody going on the beach.
No.
Staying in the hotels.
Yeah, I would be uncomfortable in the hotels. Bearing in mind there have been terrorist attacks. I'm thinking of I think it was Mumbai a few years ago where the attack was in the hotel. And I'm sure it's safe. And I'm sure they're having a great time. I personally would. How would you feel? Because I'd feel very uncomfortable.
If it was me, I think probably I would have wished to return after the 2 or 3 days as soon as.
Yeah.
I think I personally would like to get out of the place,
Yeah.
But I did send her, in part of the text, I did make it a bit jokey because I said, I was in Italy when they had the earthquake. So as much to say, you're going on holiday there and you'd have this happen.
Well, this is the thing. I'm supposedly going to a Greek island at some point this year. My wife's going out for a few weeks. I'm going to join them for 4 or 5 days. And I know it's a completely different thing, but they obviously are having their troubles. I'm feeling uncomfortable about going to Greece, because of the money problems. I would feel I would feel a million times worse about going to Tunisia.
Well, yeah,
but she's having a great time, and good luck to her, and bless her for that. And they say, and again, this doesn't mean to sound flippant, the safest time to fly is after there's been a crash. It's kind of because everybody's guard is up. But Sheila, I really appreciate your call. Thank you very much.
Okay, welcome.
Fascinating, isn't it? And I wouldn't feel comfortable in the slightest.
No, but it's right what you say, that you're probably safer now than you would have been before.
Yeah, and again, I throw this out, Jill. This is who took offence earlier on. This is no way to be flippant. You've got to wonder: is everything a cut price thing there? Because they will be. I mean, imagine when I go to Greece, I can't work out if everything's going to be really, really expensive or if everything's going to be really, really cheap. I know I'm going to have to take cash, so you can't take your cards with you. Although, no, it gets confusing.
I know in Spain everything's really expensive all of a sudden.
Yeah, I've got a feeling that'll be the case. Apparently, if you're a foreigner, if you're using foreign bank cards, you can take out as much cash as you want. Really? Imagine going to Athens and just taking out €500. Guys, anyone? Guys, 03459 455 555. Let's get the Trav.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Delays going north on the M40 now from junction 8A, the Oxford turn towards 9 for Bicester. One lane's been closed off because a car's broken down. Still slowing down going into Aylesbury on the A41 as you head away from Aston Clinton. And delays on either side of the A414 going between Hemel Hempstead and the M1 at junction 7. Chris Humphries, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Chris. Angry text. There are 40 churches in Hemel and 1 mosque. We have 1 new church and 2 more being built. So shut it, Iain, about no one wants churches. P.S. I have a maths degree and I'm a Christian, so I'm not dumb.
Local and vocal across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's 8 o'clock. I'm Simon Oxley. The headlines: Luton teacher criticises government guidance on spotting extremism. Third runway recommended for Heathrow. And Wimbledon victory for Hertfordshire tennis player.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
A Luton teacher has criticised new guidance from the government that's been given to help them spot children who are in danger of being radicalised. From today, staff have to inform school heads, social workers and the police if they fear a pupil is at risk, with High Wycombe and Luton highlighted as 2 priority areas. Sufyan Sadiq is a teacher in Luton who runs the Discover Islam Centre.
If a young person comes back and they've come back from a trip to pilgrimage and they've decided to wear the hijab or something, the teacher will now think, OK, I need to report.
An independent commission has recommended a third runway at Heathrow, subject to strict environmental and noise controls. It's concluded that a second runway at Gatwick is credible. But Sir Howard Davis, who led the commission, has told the BBC the economic benefits of expanding Heathrow were much greater.
Heathrow offers the kind of long-haul connectivity, flights to emerging markets, which are very important to the future of the British economy. And expanding it would allow Heathrow to offer more of those flights. Gatwick is much more focused on short-haul intra-European flying. Heathrow is also, by a long, long way, the centre for air freight, which is increasingly important, particularly to those markets.
The first bodies of the British tourists who were killed in Tunisia will be flown home later today. They will return on an RAF plane that left Brize Norton overnight. Tributes have been paid to Chris Dyer from Watford, with fellow Watford supporters starting an online fund in his memory. Luton-based holiday firms Thomson and First Choice have confirmed 22 of the victims were their customers. The company's managing director, Nick Longman, gave a press conference at Luton Airport last night.
Over the coming days, our priority remains to care for the bereaved, the injured, and to bring all those who wish to return home on our additional flights. We have returned 4,000 customers to date on 25 flights. We have a further 15 empty flights going out to Tunisia in the next 2 days, bringing back a further 1,900 customers.
Temperatures in some parts of the UK are expected to reach 35 Celsius today, making it the warmest day for nearly 10 years. Health warnings have been issued and train operators say services could be disrupted by rails becoming too hot. A number of operators are running a reduced service, including on the East Coast Main Line through Stevenage. In sport, Luton's leading scorer Mark Cullen has joined League One Blackpool for £180,000 and Hertfordshire-based Aliash Bedene has joined Andy Murray in the second round at Wimbledon. The Slovenian from Welling Garden City beat Radek Stepanek in 5 sets.
I'm really happy that the fans got behind me. It was really nice at the end when I lifted the arms, as I said, and they were cheering big time, and haven't felt that before.
The weather, another hot and sunny day, but feeling more humid than yesterday, a maximum temperature 32 degrees Celsius. And you can get the latest news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties.
Dad pop. Where did that idea come from?
It came from my brain.
So, let's briefly summarise what we know, shall we? The 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and finally, the 80s. Thank you, and good night.
Morning, guys. Well, yeah. Busy line. Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. It's been a busy show this morning. I would say it's been full of spunk. Oh, definitely, it's been spunky today. If you want to take part, you can. 03459 455 555.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
We've talked about... It's been a heavy show. We've talked about underage sex, and we've talked about these new laws that come into place that say basically teachers have to be slightly more aware of young people who may potentially be radicalised. I don't think it's going to be effective, but then we spoke to a gentleman. I want to get the title exactly right for Sufyan because I want to. Make sure I do him justice. It's Sufyan Sadiq, that's it, who is a teacher in Luton and also runs the Discover Islam Centre. We had a little, it would be fair to say, Barney, about the role and responsibility of teachers and our slightly different interpretations of what this bill will mean. Sufyan said that there were lots of accounts in the country, lots of cases of young girls turning up at school after maybe a school holiday wearing a hijab and being reported to the police. I didn't believe that. I challenged that. I said, OK, well, give me one example. I haven't got an example on me, but there's loads of cases. OK, well, if you're going to say there's loads of cases, you can kind of have to give me an example. Otherwise, it sounds like kind of, it sounds like the inverse of Daily Mail. Daily Mail makes stuff up. You know, Christmas was banned once. It wasn't. Christmas has never been banned for fear of offending Muslims. It's never happened. But it was in the Daily Mail. And it sounded like that. So I said, Sufyan, listen, you've got half an hour, or he put forward the time span of half an hour, to find an example of a young lady, a young girl, turning up at school, wearing a hijab and being reported to the police. Catherine, are we going to go to Sufyan now?
Well, his phone's ringing out, but I've left a message. I'll try him again.
OK.
I'll try him again now.
You try him again now while I speak to Kate in Harpenden. Morning, Kate.
Good morning, Iain.
Kate, what have you got for us?
I've been listening to this debate all morning, and Sufyan was, as a lot of your callers since have said, he was an example of his own rhetoric. Well, basically, what he was suggesting this bill would do is exactly what he was doing, which is saying, evil people are going to be spying on you, throwing you in prison for your thoughts, and yada, yada, yada. I'm oversimplifying it, I know.
Yeah.
One of the things I think is missing from this reporting and would be perhaps really helpful if you could perhaps fill the gap in.
Go on, Kate.
Is let's have somebody tell us what happens after somebody is considered to be radicalised or under threat of being radicalisation. Because I can kind of understand people going, this bill is threatening, and young people aren't going to want to express their desires to follow Islam because of the fear of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, maybe if somebody told us what is the next step after somebody is flagged, that would be really helpful. Because if it is, you will be introduced to somebody of good standing within the religious community so that they can help make sure that you are getting the right kind of religious education, then that would be a really positive thing.
It would be. Listen, I'm supposed to be vaguely impartial because it's the BBC, but sometimes I struggle, Kate, and I'm struggling with this. I don't think this thing is going to work. It sounds like the government saying we're doing something. Yeah. From what I can gather, and I've asked this question before when we talked about this a few months ago. From what I can gather is, yes, some sensible people will take that person. It'll either prompt a debate in the classroom, and if any teachers know more than me, please let me know. It will prompt a debate in the classroom, or that person might be spoken to by a religious leader, or by a counsellor, or by a teacher, but it all just feels a little bit vague. I would have thought surely if they'd been radicalised, And again, I still don't really know what that means. But if they had been radicalised, then the chances of turning them back, I would imagine, would be quite difficult, because anybody that speaks to them with a contrary point of view is the enemy. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm using really clunky language because I'm kind of stomping my way through this, and I bless you, Kate, for kind of coming along, and it feels like we're cutting our way through the undergrowth of this story, because I don't quite understand it.
No, I completely agree. I don't think that this is the answer at all, especially not. And I think it is damaging as it stands, as the way it's being reported, because at the moment it's just a reaction. But what I would like to hear attached to this story is what happens after that happens, because then at least it might allay some of the fears of people who are saying, oh, police state, they're going to be reported to the police. Gosh, of course, when you're 15 years old and going through puberty and experiencing new things, the threat of being reported to the police with no kind of what then, that's going to be scary. So let's hear the what then.
Well, I tell you what, there will be teachers listening. I'm assuming, because Luton and High Wycombe are targeted, but this is countrywide, I'm assuming that teachers will know what they have to do and will know what the consequences will be, Kate. So I shall put it out there. Any teachers on your way to school this morning, OK, so you find you got a 15-year-old lad, let's say, and you suspect he may be under danger of being radicalised. What do you do? 03459 455 555. Sufyan's back. Good morning, Sufyan.
Good morning, Ian.
OK, so we gave you the mission of finding an example of a young girl that had gone back to school after a summer holiday or a break, wearing a hijab, and she'd been reported to the police. Let's hear your examples.
Okay, so in between actually trying to have a shower and get ready for work, I have managed to find out a report, and the report was by Cage UK.
Was by what? Sorry, I missed that.
Cage UK.
Cage?
An organisation. Cage UK.
Okay, Cage UK, yep, go on.
Yeah, Cage UK, that looked into Prevent, and the referrals made to Prevent between 2007 and 2013. And these include, I want to read out a particular passage, indicators of risks where people have been reported include simple expressed opinions, behavioural changes such as wearing the hijab, increased religiosity, personal history, and in some cases ambiguous. Well, let me just read this part out also to you, where they've made innocent comments about the news and they've been reported the next day without any further digging beyond the fact that they made a comment based on something that they saw on the news. Now, the report actually looks into 960 cases that were referred to Prevent strategy during that period. And increased religiosity is one of those factors, where wearing the hijab, growing the beard, things that are something that these young people may do.
I'm going to cut to the chase, Sufyan. Give me an example of a young girl that went back to school after a summer holiday wearing a hijab and was reported to the police.
No, but look, you're asking me. It obviously.
You haven't got any, have you?
No, but you're asking me for a particular name, but the report looks at the fact that it's looked into cases and that there's clear evidence within the report shows that people have been reported for increased
schoolgirls. No, Sufyan.
Which has included wearing hijab.
Sufyan, you cited this as an example, all right? So yes, I don't understand why you're surprised that I'm questioning it and trying to get specifics.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because if you're asking me for a particular name for a particular school, well, the report doesn't cite a particular
How many schoolgirls then? Okay, let's make it vaguer.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind, you brought this up as a problem, which I don't believe is a problem, and we'll get to Cage in a second.
Yeah.
How many schoolgirls in this country have been reported to the police for wearing a hijab?
It doesn't have a breakdown for that. It's got 960 referrals that have been made, and some of them have been made for increased religiosity, which is included things like wearing the hijab.
But you know, they won't have been reported for wearing a hijab. They will have been reported for a whole combination of things. You know that, don't you?
No, but that's the thing. You've already made your mind up.
No, Sufyan, they won't have been reported for wearing...
You're going to be defending the Prevent strategy, which even government...
Sufyan, have you been listening? Have you listened to a word I've said? I don't think it's... I don't think it's going to...
Position yourself.
Sufyan,
you're going to whatever way it goes.
No, Sufyan, have you listened to anything that I've said? I don't think this thing's going to work.
No, yeah, and I agree with you.
But not for the same reasons. But listen, okay, how many How many girls have been reported to the police just for wearing a hijab, not for anything else? I can tell you the answer, 0.
No, you can't. You can't conclusively.
Well, then
say
you
that.
tell me. Well, you can't conclusively say that any have.
No, because it increases religiosity within the report.
But Sufyan, the point.
You're asking me a question
because you brought up the point. You brought up the point that young girls. You brought up the point, Sufyan, and I've just shot it down, mate. You brought up the point that young girls have been reported to the police for wearing a hijab. You've come back with no evidence to back that up. Now,
I've come back with the report, which you're failing to acknowledge. I've come back with a report which looks at the fact that 960 cases were looked at.
But not because of specifically of the hijab.
Because you've made your mind up, and you know what?
No.
You said, I've shot the point down. Fine, you've shot the point down.
No,
but you've made your mind.
No, Sufyan, you've not given me the evidence, mate. You've given me no evidence.
Because you want me to provide a specific name.
No, I want you to provide a number. You can't even provide a number of girls that have been reported to the police because they've worn a hijab.
Because it's not got that broken down.
Well, then you can't. Well, then, sir.
You looked at that specific.
Well, then, sir, you can't bring up that point in an argument like you did 40 minutes ago. What you said 40 minutes ago was a lie.
No, it wasn't. Again, you've positioned yourself.
Because you're talking. I've got to say it, mate. You're talking balls.
You position yourself, and you want to say what is on your mind. You want
mate,
to say,
I don't.
Agree.
You said.
You don't have to agree, and I couldn't care less if you didn't agree.
Well, no, I'm not agreeing with anything because you're talking nonsense. Sufyan, you said 40 minutes ago. You said 40 minutes ago.
I think you're talking nonsense because you positioned yourself.
Sufyan.
I've supplied you a report.
Sufyan, but it's got nothing to do with the question I asked you. You said 40 minutes ago, right, that girls had been reported to the police up and down the country simply.
And I provided you with a report.
Please, you haven't, Sufyan. Sufyan, you said about 40 minutes ago that up and down the country, girls have been reported to the police simply for wearing a hijab.
Yes.
That report does not. That report doesn't prove that.
And the Cage report into Prevent looks into that.
That report doesn't prove that. It says increased religiosity, which is different.
But increased religiosity, such as wearing the hijab. So
no, that's one of the factors.
Just because it doesn't have, you want this thing that I want to give an exact number. It doesn't have an exact
By the way,
I accept that it doesn't have an exact number.
No, it doesn't give any evidence to your argument at all, Sufyan. And that's you're a teacher. I would have thought you'd been able to disseminate the facts. By the way,
there's a report.
Cage.
But you've made your mind up.
Well, no, it doesn't say what you think is. Yeah, I have, mate, because it's nonsense. Now, Cage is the organisation. Have I got it right? That Cage is the organisation that said the gentleman who's Mohammed Emwazi, Jihadi John, some people might know him as. They blamed the fact that he was chopping the heads off Japanese reporters because of MI5 harassment. Is that right? That's Cage, isn't it?
I can't comment on that because I don't know.
I've got a story here. Cage Cage has caused controversy. This is from the BBC News. Cage has caused controversy by suggesting that MI5 harassment could have contributed to the radicalisation of the Kuwaiti-born computer graduate who grew up in West London.
So what are you suggesting? Therefore, everything that's come out of this organisation because of this one point that we might not agree with.
I think that when Cage are blaming,
I can't talk to you about something that I'm unaware of. So I don't know what you're.
Well, you've been doing it for the last hour, mate. You know, you've been doing it for the last hour, Sufyan.
No, I haven't. You've made your mind up, and you're going to stick with that position. And fair enough, you stick with that.
But Sufyan,
I'm not going to say to you. I'm not going to sit here and say to you that a legislation that many people, many experts have looked into, that it will function, not going to work.
I don't think it will work. I don't think the bill will work, Sufyan. But also, I think that what you're doing is equally, if not more dangerous, because you are propagating and you are spreading lies and you are saying things that you're claiming are fact. You are producing evidence that does not back up your argument, and you are telling children they cannot have free thought and discussion at school, and it's not true.
it's people like you that are spicing things up, and you're trying to make something out of nothing here. The reality is, I've provided you with evidence. You can go through the report. It'll provide you with the sources.
Could you send me the link to the report?
But I will send you the link.
Good, because I'd like to have a look at it. Sufyan, thanks very much.
Go ahead and look at it.
I will do. Thanks. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. 03459 455 555 is the telephone number. Have we still got Trav, or has Trav dropped off? They're well within. We've still got Trav. Let's do a bit of this, shall we?
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Looking better now going north on the M40 away from High Wycombe. There were some delays north of Oxford earlier on after a car broke down. That car's back on the move again and delays are starting to ease. Still quite slow though on the A41 heading from Aston Clinton in towards Aylesbury, and also on the southbound A41 from the Hemel Hempstead turnoff down to the M25 at Kings Langley. Staying in Hemel Hempstead, the A414 still quite slow between the centre of the town and the M1 at Junction 7 and the M25. The clockwise side now queuing from Potters Bar at Junction 24 to Enfield at the A10 for Junction 25, that is, and the anti-clockwise side still quite heavy now between Watford at 19 and the M40 at 16. And for the railways, Virgin Trains East Coast services running via Stevenage, they're being delayed today. There are speed restrictions just because of the hot weather. Chris Humphries, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Chris, thank you, and thank you for your patience today. It's been an unusual one. Right, let me just find the headlines. Right, here we go. Where are we now? It's blimey, it's 8:15. I've clicked on the 7:15. I'm completely out with the timing. Right, 8:20 or thereabouts. It's Wednesday, the 1st of July. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. From today, schools have a statutory duty to prevent students from being drawn into terrorism, with High Wycombe and Luton highlighted as two priority areas. The long-awaited report on expanding Britain's airports recommends that a third runway will be built at Heathrow, and the first bodies of the British tourists who were killed in Tunisia will be flown home later on today.
Sundays on BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's a one-on-one connection thing. It's about me, it's about you. That's what it's all about.
Edward Adu.
It's not going to be Top Gear. It's going to be 1,000 times better.
Every Sunday night from 8.
Eclectic black music. It's going to be funk, soul, hip-hop, reggae, even a bit of house as well. It's like a social club. It's the Edward Adu Social Club. We just hang out, peanuts, glass of water. That's what it's all about.
Edward Adu.
I wear weird trousers, I wear crazy glasses, and I love fried chicken.
Every Sunday night from 8 on BBC Three Counties Radio. This is Iain Lee.
On BBC Three Counties Radio.
I got it. Bit all over the shop today, but I'm enjoying it. I hope you are. Teachers have a new responsibility from today. Along with making sure their students can read, write and remember, it's now part of their job to stop them turning into terrorists. You've heard us talking about it all morning. Staff at nurseries, primary and secondary schools will all get additional training, and pupils won't be allowed to access extremist material online. So that's that problem sorted. Guys, everyone happy? Let's go. Ashfaq Chowdhury is the head teacher at Al Hikmah Institute in Bury Park, which has been involved in a pilot scheme of this since Christmas, and joins me now. Morning, Ashfaq.
Good morning.
What training have your staff had to undertake?
Well, as I think it's quite relevant. So, I won't start off by being cynical about it. So it targets the most controversial element at this moment in time. So it looks at all this sort of extremist material out there. Of course, it looks at right-wing material as well. And helps teachers unpack, the current extremism that's going on, the grooming that's going on online.
Oh, so, and this was mentioned earlier on, I didn't pick up on it, and this is my gap in my knowledge. It's not just looking at Islam extremism, it's also looking at right-wing extremism as well, the kind of fascism and racism and things.
That's right, yeah. When it was delivered to us, it was delivered like that, that's right.
Because it has been suggested by some of our guests that this is an attack on Islam. What would you say to that?
Well, it all depends how it's done. As I said, the law is as good as who implements it. So depending on who is going to execute these trainings, who is going to be at the end of the helpline, as you know, the one that was set up by the Department for Education, it'll all depend on how these people execute these things, how things are reviewed, how's the oversight in place. is how effective this is going to be.
You and your staff have had the training, I think. Have you found it effective? Did the people that you worked with, did you feel that they had enough insight into this situation?
Well, the trainer supplied by the LA was a Muslim who had, good or considerable knowledge of Islam himself. So he was able to contextualize quite well. On top of that, when staff sort of threw questions at it, he was quite prompt in picking those up because he perhaps understood the cultural context and everything else. So, yes, we found that quite useful.
Is it going to work? Is it going to stop kids in patronising, young people wanting to go and join far-right, fascist, racist organisations? And is it going to stop kids that want to go off to Syria and join IS? Is it going to have any impact?
Is it going to have any impact? Yes, in the sense that, you see, the additional training that was provided was actually provided to the young people themselves to understand and contextualize, because at the end of the day, they are the potential targets. The young people are the potential targets of these new groomers, who are very synonymous, very, very synonymous to, how paedophiles used to groom young children. It's almost synonymous to that. Yes, it will be very useful for them to have the knowledge to understand, how they might target them, what they need to do, exactly the same way as we used to train our young people to avoid keeping themselves safe online. Is it the answer to everything? No, it's not. The reason being is that, as you're aware, young people use a lot of social media, and a lot of it is at home or, outside school or in various, sometimes, even PlayStations nowadays have access to social media between them. So what's going to happen in that particular environment? Because, let's say we solve the problem in the school, but, how are you going to stop it outside the school?
Well, if you can close one door, that's got to be, however many may open. If one door can be closed, that's got to be good. We spoke to a guest earlier on who suggested that this bill, Ashfaq, would punish children in as much as they could be reported to the police if they discussed and expressed concern at British foreign policy. For example, if a spontaneous discussion started in a geography or a political class that criticised the British invasion of Iraq, if a young Muslim lad, for example, was saying, well, do you know what, I think Iraq was a bad idea and it was illegal and we shouldn't have gone there and innocent people were murdered, which is a completely valid point of view to have, that a teacher might report that young man or young woman to the police, that this bill would quash young people having free thought and free discussion. What would you say to that?
There's always a danger of that. You see, we're an Islamic establishment, so we can easily contextualize because, most of us of the similar faith. We can contextualize what young people say, what could be translated as, heading towards radicalization and what couldn't. Clearly, Iraq, we are holding an inquiry ourselves, find out, what went wrong. If nothing went wrong, I'm sure we won't be holding an inquiry, nationwide inquiry in that. So somebody expressing their reservations about that is only logical. A teacher who's able to unpack this common sense approach won't report this child because, they understand that we've got an inquiry going on ourselves.
And however, the thing is, millions of people in this country think that the war in Iraq was illegal and was wrong. So it is a completely valid point of view to have. So for a young person to bring that up as a discussion in a classroom should be, I would say should be applauded for looking at things from a slightly different way. It doesn't necessarily mean that they are aggressive and want to blow up people on a train, does it?
Not at all. I mean, as I said, there are facts behind it. And as a country, we know that we are holding an inquiry. What went wrong? If nothing went wrong, I'm sure we won't be, setting up an inquiry on it. So somebody expressing their view to say that actually there's an inquiry going on and, a lot of people died, which, we as a mature democracy, we do not believe in going out, in various parts of the world and killing people. But unfortunately, a lot of people have died as a consequence. So these kind of logical arguments, if they're brought forward and teachers report them, all they're going to end up doing is not doing what they're meant to do. And perhaps, they'll miss the big points where, East London, we know that so many girls just turned up. So that is a point that, should have been picked up as opposed to, what we're talking about now.
Ashfaq, I've got to move on because I've got plenty of calls on this. I really appreciate your time. Ashfaq Chowdhury, head teacher at Al Hikmah Institute in Bury Park. Shabana's on the line. Good morning, Shabana.
Hi there. Good morning.
What would you like to say?
I'd like to say that my religion, Islam, I'm Muslim, It's basically been hijacked by lunatic Wahhabis.
What's a Wahhabi? I don't know what a Wahhabi is.
They're the ones who basically hate everyone. They call everyone a kafir. They call everyone a non-believer, even if you're a Muslim.
Right.
And you don't fit their criteria. Basically, they go out and they kill you. You've had the bombings in Kuwait.
Yeah.
And, they're responsible for that. The so-called ISIS, basically. But what it is, it's not just them alone. You've got Saudi Arabia who back all this. You've got England that backs Saudi Arabia. So we're basically in a circle that just doesn't end, if you know what I mean. And then you've got people like Anjem Chowdhury, who is given so much airtime on television.
Oh, do you know what? He was booked to come. He was booked to come on this show about a month ago, and I said, "Do you know what? I'm not interested. I don't want to give that plum airtime. Not on my show."
You've got people like him that basically hate everyone.
Yeah.
So why is he not kicked out of this country? We were peace loving. I've never known my religion to be. It's making me sick. Not my religion.
But this is
making me feel so sick.
Yeah, the thing is, most people know that Islam is like Christianity, and it's all about basically it's all just be nice to people. That's what it is. It's just be groovy to people. That's kind of the basic message. There was a brilliant call on Radio 4 the other day when they were talking about Tunisia, and this old boy phoned up and said, "Well, I've not heard one Muslim leader come on the radio and denounce this." And I'm thinking, I'm bored of Muslim leaders coming on and denouncing this, because every time there's a terrorist attack, there is pressure on Muslim leaders and community leaders to come on and go, "Well, this isn't true Islam." I know it's not. It's only a bunch of idiots, and judging by the texters, actually a significant portion of my listeners, who see the connection between your average, the Muslim and what happened in Tunisia. There's no connection. Those person is doing it in what they believe is the name of Islam, but that's not Islam.
It's so wrong. Honestly, I'm so upset. I really am. It's affected me a lot. Where I just think, what's going on? Why are they? Why is it gone so bad? Where it should not supposed to be like this. It's because, like I said, you've got people like Anjem Chowdhury, and everyone thinks this is how everybody is. And not just him alone. There's so many of them.
Oh, there's loads. And Shabana, I've got to move on. It's a brilliant call. Thank you. And a really interesting thing, and Anjem Chowdhury's not coming on there. He was booked about a month, 6 weeks ago, and it was booked without my knowledge and mine and Cass' knowledge, and we ummed and ahed about it, and we thought, we don't want to give time to that idiot. I'll give time to this idiot, though. 8:30, we'll do the travel in a second. I'm so angry. Why does... I think they mean why doesn't. Why does Iain listen to what genuine people feel about the Muslim issue? I guess he means, why doesn't Iain listen to what genuine people feel about the Muslim issue? Tell him to go to Wardown Park on a weekend and come back to us. Now, when you say genuine people, what do you mean by genuine people? You mean thick white racists? Is that what you mean? I don't know.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Looking really slow going south on the A1M now from junction 8 to Stevenage to junction 7 for the A602. The M1's also pretty heavy going south towards Redbourne at junction 9 with delays from the Luton Airport Spur Road, and also delays to junction 9 for Redbourne on the A5 as you head away from Lynch Hill in Mark Yates. The A1, that's going slow through Boreham Wood from the Holiday Inn roundabout through to Barnet Lane, that's the Stirling Corner turn-off of course, and the M25, the clockwise side queuing from junction 24 for Potters Bar to 25 for the A10. The anti-clockwise side still quite heavy this morning from Watford at 19 to the M40 at 16. And on the railways today, Virgin Trains East Coast services via Stevenage. There are speed restrictions in place for the hot weather, so do expect some delays later on. Chris Humphries, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Across beds, hearts and bugs.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
With the headlines, I'm Simon Oxley. Teaching unions have criticised new guidance from the government that's been given to teachers to help them spot children who are in danger of being radicalised, with High Wycombe and Luton highlighted as two priority areas. An independent commission has recommended a third runway at Heathrow, subject to strict environmental and noise controls, and the first bodies of the British tourists who were killed in Tunisia will be flown home later today.
Three Counties Sport.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Luton's leading scorer, Mark Cullen, has joined League One Blackpool for £180,000. Cullen scored 14 goals last season, but manager John Still says the player made it clear he wanted to move north to be closer to home. Luton say the fee could double with add-ons and a sell-on clause. New Watford head coach Quique Flores says staying in the Premier League is the main aim next season. He was introduced to the media yesterday and says he's looking forward to it.
Yes, because I had the sensation the people in the stand. So really, it's like actors. It's like theaters. We are creating something to transmit to the stand. So for me, this connection is very nice.
Milton Keynes Dons goalkeeper David Martin has signed a new 2-year contract. It follows yesterday's 3 new arrivals. Wickham have signed winger Jason Banton after he left Plymouth. Wanderers have also signed Danny Rowe from Rotherham on a 3-year deal, having had him on loan last season. Elsewhere, Leicester have sacked manager Nigel Pearson, and England's women face Japan in the early hours of tomorrow morning in their World Cup semi-final. The winners will face the USA in the final after they beat Germany 2-0. Andy Murray's through to the second round at Wimbledon after a straight sets win over Mikhail Kukushkin of Kazakhstan, and Hertfordshire-based Aljaž Badane from Slovenia beat Radonek Stepanek in 5 sets. He's been living in Welwyn Garden City since 2008. This is his first Wimbledon as a British citizen. Murray says it's great to see the likes of Bednay and James Ward doing well.
The more matches all those guys can win in these events, it's big for the confidence. It gives them ranking points, which I think for James, if he wins a couple of matches here, he'll break into the top 100 for the first time, which would be huge for him. Prize money as well, which can help them invest in their careers too. So a lot of positives for those guys if they can pull through.
BBC Three Counties News and Sport. The next full bulletin is at 9.
So, it's time for the political debate section of the show, joined by newsreader Simon Oxley and BBC Three Counties radio presenter Jonathan Vernon Smith. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
So, what would you like to start the debate, Jonathan?
Not really. I don't know what you're doing.
Simon, would you like to start the debate?
I'll pass on that. I'll just leave
great
it to you.
debate, guys! I thought we could get a little bit of gravitas to the show.
I'm supposed to be impartial, he says, the newsreader.
We've got 2 of the greatest brains in broadcasting and JVS in this studio. And I thought we could get the Radio 4 audience by doing something a little bit boring, but intellectual.
Bit
of the nocty, and...
Well, you started off. We'll join in then. Go on.
Kumbaya, my lord. Thank you, Simon. You can go and
I was just looking through the papers to see if there's an intellectual one, but there isn't.
Go not in here. No, go and look at go and watch football online. I know that's what you do.
I quite like sitting over here.
I do, and you sound better, Catherine. You're going to sit on the red mic from now on.
I?
Catherine,
To speak to us again.
oh, she's pretending to be on the telephone. You sound better. That microphone makes the ambience of the studio sound rubbish.
Oh,
that one sounds better.
Okay, well, every day
Yeah.
I'm going to sit here.
Catherine, you're going to sit there from now on for the papers. It sounds better. It works. It works.
I feel more like we're on a sofa together.
What?
Well, over there...
Why would you say that?
Well, over there I feel like
Would you want to cuddle? Pass me the remote. Where are the Maltesers?
Over there I feel more like you're interviewing me, whereas here I feel as if I could, reach over...
Who's the alpha male in this situation?
Touch you. Sorry?
Who is the alpha male in this situation?
What's the correct answer to that?
Oh,
You
totally controlled that conversation. So the correct answer is me, but the actual answer is you. You're good. You're good. I've still got a lot to learn. Thank you. You've been really patient this week because we've been all over the place with getting you in. What's on your show this morning?
Well, it's one I know that you get very heated about this morning.
Yeah.
Which, based on your performance this morning, is dangerous. I sense while I'm
Should
sitting
the Beatles reform? No, they shouldn't.
This morning on the Big Phone In, have you heard the United Nations is urging the British government to change the law which allows parents to smack their children?
Oh, yeah.
In its report on the UK's record of protecting children, it said the government should outlaw all corporal punishment in the family. The UN Committee on the Rights of the Child said it deeply regrets that the UK has retained the defence of reasonable chastisement, despite the recommendations in a damning report it published back in 1995.
Yeah.
A spokesman for the children's charity, the NSPCC, has said the UN's report is absolutely right. UK law on this issue is wrong. It doesn't protect children from being hit, and the government should act immediately on the recommendations. Well, from 9 this morning, I want us to debate this. Should Britain listen to the UN and make smacking illegal.
But most people in this country will not. Well, they think that smacking is illegal already, don't they? They don't realise that you are within your rights to smack a child, your own child, obviously, within a certain framework. Everyone thinks, but smacking's been banned. Well, it's not been banned. You can smack your kid if you're a weak parent that doesn't have any other tools in your artillery.
Oh. Well, from 9...
It's true. There are so many more tools you can use. We don't hit little people.
From 9 this morning, I'll take your response. You may agree with Ian, you may completely disagree.
The idiots won't.
03459 455 555. Should Britain listen to the UN and make smacking illegal?
This is Iain Lee
on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Catherine Kelly, by the way, great to have you back.
Thanks, Claire.
I listened to Kelly. Is she allowed to work on another radio station, or is that verboten?
I don't think we're supposed to mention it.
Okay, well, I didn't listen to her last night then.
No.
Good though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was excellent. It was nice. I was really proud of you.
Even the sweary bit.
My youngest wasn't listening either, and he said, "What are you listening to?" Because it's rubbish music. There was good music, actually. Run away from the devil. That was one, wasn't it?
Good advice.
It's brilliant advice. And my youngest came in, because I was listening on my phone, and he said, "What are you listening to?" I said, I'm not, "What are you not listening to?" I said, "I'm not listening to my mate Kelly." "Who's he?" And I said, No, it's a girl." "What, he's a girl?" I said, No, you've misunderstood. You've met Kelly, but you won't remember. I very rarely do. I have to keep reading in a book, "Who is Kelly?" And he said, "But so is Kelly a boy or a girl?" I said, "She is a girl." And he just couldn't grasp the concept of you being a girl.
It's because you called her your mate.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. Mate's a dirty word in our house. So is Kelly, actually, but that's for different reasons. Have we got any texts before we crack on with the light?
Yeah, we've got loads of texts.
Give us a few texts, then we're going to crack on with the light amongst all this shade.
Here's some shade from Ian. Radicalisation in school, solution, promote atheism. Muslims think Christians go to hell. Christians think Muslims will go to hell. Well, all atheists think no one goes to hell. Now ask which is the most tolerant life view. I
used to think that religious people really is. I don't think that at all anymore. I kind of think each to their own.
And not all religious people believe in hell at all.
I kind of think each their own. If it works for you, man, then have some of it. I've got some Christian friends, primarily in America, who from time to time send me very nice messages saying, "Look, I know you're not a man of God, Ian, but maybe you should consider it, and I'll say a prayer for you." Yeah, fine. You want to say a prayer? You want to say a prayer for me, buddy? I'll take that. I'll take anything that's going.
I've got friends like that. It comes from a place of goodwill. Why not? It doesn't offend me.
I'll have some of that. Give us one more, and then we'll crack on.
Janet talking about everything actually. Janet says, "I would suggest we talk to our young people about drugs, sexual matters, and the dangers of all extreme religions, including cults, at a young age. I would start around 9 or 10.
9 or 10. Is that you get into the debate of what age is the age? I don't know. Let's crack on because we've only got a few minutes, and this is really important. This is the first step in what's going to be a long, ongoing project. I hope the dust has settled. Eurovision, a dim and distant memory. But what's that coming up over the hill? Is it a monster? No, it's Eurovision again. We've got a mission to make sure that next year is our year. We've got a very. The thing is, we've got so much talent in Beds, Hearts and Bugs that is not being utilised, and one of them is our very own local songwriter Raymond Marks joins us now. Morning, Raymond.
Morning, Ian.
Raymond, it's good to have you on. Now we have got this mission, this plan. We want to do everything within our powers, no promises, but to get your song, and it's Danger No Stranger, I think, is the one that we're kind of putting our money on. Your song to be the British entry in the Eurovision. Before we discuss it, let's hear a snatch.
Danger no stranger. Danger no stranger. Things in life can hide their pleasure. Level of excitement is the measure. What is danger? How can it be? Once a man astray.
So that's Danger No Stranger by Raymond Marks.
My dream.
Now imagine that. Correct me if I've got this wrong, Raymond. I can imagine this with a full orchestra, a full band, maybe backing singers. It could be a really Is that how you hear it in your head?
Well, for Eurovision, the scenario is a beautiful Bond-type girl is singing on the stage with a huge screen behind her, and floating across the screen are images and people like a film title, and the words of the song floating across as well. So it has a bit of a Bondish feeling about it, which is definitely British.
And you're right. Bond is one of those British icons, but it's also recognised around the world, isn't it? So you're already... Because the image is quite often, we should be judging these songs on their musicality, but the image is such a vital factor, isn't it?
Yes, it's the singer, the song and the scenario, I think, that sort of wins. Can I just raise a little point? I was reading the rules about the Eurovision Song Contest, and they state in it is not a contest of nations, it is a contest of broadcasting companies.
Oh.
And to my mind, that labels the BBC totally responsible for the poor performance we've been having.
Well, they've muffed it up. They've dropped the ball. They've ballsed it up for the last few years. It's been, we all know it's been a secret system. The gentleman who chooses the song, his name escapes me. But it's been a secret system where we are presented, the British public, with, this is your entry, and we all go, oh no, what have you done?
Well, the entries aren't necessarily so bad. The thing is, when we put it to the public vote, we did much better with a song for Europe. So what I would say is a more realistic target is to have Danger No Stranger put in the pot so that the public get a chance to vote for it against other songs.
I tell you what we're going to do, and someone will remind me on Twitter, because I have forgotten the gentleman's name, is... he is a BBC representative. What I'm going to do today, Raymond, is I'm going to send him an email.
Is that Guy Freeman by any chance?
Yes, it is Guy Freeman. Thank you very much. You're spot on. I'm going to send him an email.
I got that because the contact list of the heads of delegations for each country was given to me, and I've got Guy Freeman's telephone number and email address. Right.
Okay. Listen, I'm assuming it's guy.freeman@bbc.co.uk. I'm assuming, but we have an internal system. It is. Okay. It is. And that works for pretty much anyone at the BBC, guys. I'm going to send him an email straight after the show, Raymond, and see if we can arrange a meeting or a phone conversation or something, because he's the first person we have to speak to, isn't he?
Okay, and I think the thing to do is I'm just working totally on evidence, and in the last 15 years we've only come in the top 5 twice.
Mm.
And when we had Song for Europe, we came in the top 5 70% of time. So we had a much better record when the public chosen. The thing I'd like to introduce in the selection process is maybe you do your initial screening with a panel of European members, because it's Europeans that have to vote for these songs, not just British. We can't vote for our own song. And then have the British public voting for, say, the last 3 or 4.
I'm formulating a little idea in my head where we get some local Europeans.
Yeah, I know some Spanish people.
I'm sure we can find a Polish person just like wandering around out here.
French. Yeah, we can do this.
What we'll do, Raymond, is we'll do this next... I'll tell you what we'll do. I'm going to put in an email to Guy today. One day next week, in that chair there, we're going to have a Pole, a Spaniard, and something else. And we're going to play them the song, and we're going to get their honest thoughts. How about that?
Well, that'll be great. I've got to be very careful, but people say my axe to grind is I just want to get the song true. Well, yes and no. Partly, I think the Eurovision Song Contest is such a fantastic platform for talent, and I've been told by music professionals taking it away from musical talent in this country is a major negative. I don't really understand quite why the BBC feel like this. Could it be, as it's a broadcasting responsibility, maybe it's time for another broadcasting union to take it over?
If you imagine... I mean, Raymond, I've got to move on because I've been late for every travelling news.
Sure.
You imagine if Sky did it or if ITV did it, what an event it would be. I can imagine Stephen Mulhern hosting it on ITV. Listen, Raymond, we're going to follow this. Great text from Ed. Ed says it sounds like Black Box Recorder. Do you remember Black Box Recorder? They did a brilliant song. Luke Haynes is a brilliant writer. We'll play it tomorrow, Facts of Life. They also did a song that was based on Honey to the Bee by Billy. Iain on the Converse says, this sounds like a bad Bond theme tune to me. It's music. Everyone's going to have their different opinions. Raymond, we'll speak next week. We're going to carry on taking this to the toppermost of the poppermost, Johnny. Obscure Beatles reference for you.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Queues now heading into Bedford along Paula Radcliffe Way on the A6. Of course, there are some roadworks going on to the north of Bedford. Also still slow on the A41 going into Aylesbury from the east of the town from Aston Clinton. And the A41 really slow from the Hemel Hempstead turn off at the A414 down to the M25 at Kings Langley. While the A414 itself in Hemel Hempstead still quite slow between the centre of the town and the M1 at junction 7. Moving on to the M25, the anti-clockwise side still quite heavy from Watford at junction 19 to the M40 at 16, while the clockwise side's queuing from junction 24 for Potters Bar to 25 for Enfield. And for the railways, Virgin Trains East Coast services via Stevenage, there are speed restrictions today because of the hot weather, so do expect some delays. Chris Humphries, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Chris. Oh, blimey. No, go away. Oh, no, hang on a second. Gosh. For a moment, Raymond was taking over the BBC. His dream is coming true. These are your headlines, 8:48 on BBC Three Counties Radio. From today, schools have a statutory duty to prevent students from being drawn into terrorism, with High Wycombe and Luton highlighted as two priority areas. The long-awaited report on expanding Britain's airports recommends that a third runway be built at Heathrow, and the first bodies of the British tourists who were killed in Tunisia will be flown home later on today. Let's get the weather. Here's Kate.
Beds, Herts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's set to be another very hot and humid day today. The temperature outside at the moment is already in the low 20s and it is set to get much warmer. It's between 21 and 24 Celsius already across all three counties, so it is going to be very warm. Sunny spells, a bit more cloud today, but that aside, its temperature is still going to reach possibly a maximum of around 32, maybe 33 Celsius by the end of the afternoon. Sunsets are 21, 24, and overnight tonight, generally it's going to be dry and with clear spells, but it is going to be very, very warm. Temperatures, again, not dropping down too far below 20, 17 in the countryside, 18, 19 in towns and cities, and sunrises tomorrow morning at 04:47. Now, it's a good start tomorrow, but the cloud will move in, and with it we'll see some showers, some heavy thundery showers arrive through the morning. They'll move away eastwards, and behind it, it's going to feel a little bit fresher. Still warm. Temperatures tomorrow still 26 Celsius, but it will feel a little bit cooler. That's your forecast.
So, I'm sorry about that. I'm trying to... Sorry, Kate. I'm trying to find... Do you remember Black Box Recorder?
Vaguely.
Oh, my computer's gone mash up. I'll do it in a second. Computer gone mash up.
Every weekday morning.
One partially closed and the others didn't operate at all.
I have contacted other companies who do it professionally, and they said it should have been anchored down.
The JVS Show.
It was looked over by the garage and they told me do not move the vehicle anywhere. It's a complete death trap.
The JVS Show fights for your rights and tackles your consumer problems.
I'm getting nowhere. I've tried on numerous occasions to talk to the manager of this company.
If you need our help, email jvsshow@bbc.co.uk.
So they said, we're going to contact the customer, we're going to have a chat, and we're going to make a gesture to that customer.
And we could do the same for you.
Without your programme, I don't know what you'd do in the morning.
The JVS Show.
Okay.
Weekdays from 9 on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Mentioned by Dave... no, let me try that again. So, mentioned by Ed that Danger No Stranger... Well, someone's called it a sexual assault anthem. I think that's a little bit unfair.
Well...
Ed says it sounds like Black Box Recorder. Now, Black Box Recorder were brilliant. They had
I remember Black Box.
No, well, they had one hit, right? And it's a brilliant song. And he's not far wrong. Have a listen to this. It's got that similar kind of... Do you remember this song?
Yes, I do remember this
song. This is such a good song.
When boys are just 11, they begin to go right at a faster rate than they
It's Luke Haynes. Now, Luke Haynes is... he's been in loads of bands, the Auteurs and various things. I'm not a massive fan of his music, but he writes... I'll lend you a Luke Haynes book. He writes brilliantly. I think he wrote one called Britpop and My Part in Its Downfall, and it's brilliant. Let's get to the catchy chorus. Here we come.
It's just a nature walk. It's just the facts of life.
Oh, yeah.
There's no master plan.
Such a good song.
Walk me home from school.
She's from the Jane Birkin School of not really singing, isn't she?
This is from... this got to number 20 in the chart. I love it.
Well, we were
It's based on Honey to the Bee from Billy. Now, everyone's going, well, hang on a second. How is that in any way
By the telephone, wanted to call a girl.
related to "Honey to the Bee" by Billy Piper? Well, then you listen to this. Not this. This is an advert for the Who's Greatest Hits. Boy, I love having the internet on the radio. Don't you? Access to anything. Billy Piper, of course. People forget. Well, Billy Piper was a pop star before she became a prostitute.
On the telly, yeah.
Which makes it even worse, some might say. But how did she get the job as a pop star?
She was a small child.
She was in an advert for Smash Hits. Do you remember? Here we go.
Yes, she was a model, wasn't she?
See, this is Black Box Recorder.
I interviewed her in the lull between pop stardom and television prostitution.
Close my eyes and I see
Such a good song.
it feels like you're lying here. All the things I wanna say come and go. Easy as a breeze, those words
Here we go.
just float. I float on.
You see?
She's actually gorgeous.
She's got a very busy mouth.
Very busy.
Like the woman who does Holidays in the Sun. Not Amanda Lamb, the other one.
Yeah. Honey drip every hour.
Here we go. She's standing in the water and she's doing a dance. Here we go. Oh, we're playing this tomorrow. This is a great song, isn't it? I bought this on CD single. Here we go.
I've been missing you. I should be kissing you. Honey to the bee, that's you for me. I wouldn't tell a lie. Got a love I can't deny. Honey to the bee, that's you for me. Honey to the bee, that's you for me. Honey to the bee.
I was singing that and I looked over and I just caught Simon Oxley's eye there, and it was a very awkward. He's in the next studio.
Now
very
he's in love with
awkward,
you.
Sexually charged newsreader.
If we play that, can
Yeah.
we play Blame It on the Weatherman by Bewitched?
Yeah, why the hell not? Why the hell not? Have we got any texts before we
loads.
crack on with the
And
phone
none
calls?
of them are about Billy Piper yet.
Oh, okay.
Daryl in Milton Keynes, danger no stranger, absolutely deluded. It's poor and outdated, horrendous and laughable.
Says
so it
you.
could win then. No, he doesn't say that. He says play that against Sweden's winner and Norway's entry.
Yeah.
Well, it still could win.
What do you reckon, Katya?
Oh, yes. Probably. Can I be part of the pre-Eurovision panel?
You have to be able to come in though, Katya.
Oh, come in.
Or do it on the phone.
Oh,
Actually.
really?
I don't want to necessarily meet people.
Okay.
Well, are you foreign?
What do you mean?
Right. Well, are you are you foreign?
That's a bit rude, isn't it?
Well, you are, aren't you? There's nothing wrong with it.
No, I suppose
Can
not.
I just say,
Yes.
happy birthday to Kelly's nan. You owe me 10 quid. She sent me a message saying, I'll give you a 10 if you say happy birthday to my nan. I'll take bribes. You're foreign, aren't you?
Yeah, okay.
All right.
What kind of foreign?
The good one.
Well, according to our next caller, there won't be a good there ain't no good foreigners.
Is that...
Can you play
Yeah,
football?
say,
He'll like you if
Katya,
you...
say hello to Steve.
Oh, my God. Hello, Steve.
I never said I never said that.
What? Hello there, Steve. How are you?
I'm all right. It's the others.
The other what?
The other people in my country.
Like me, I
Racism's funny. Racism's funny. Hatred is funny. So,
Patriotic
being
is nothing
superior,
wrong with it. Anyway,
being
listen,
superior
I didn't
over others is funny.
I didn't really ring up about that, did I?
I don't know, mate. What have you rung up about?
No, about the trying to train the school teachers to look out for extremists. I mean, they've got enough on the plate to do. They can't even educate our own children without them trying to be snooping on people.
Yes,
surely
they
it's the thought police. Surely it's KGB. It's Russia, isn't it? So as soon as a kid goes on the computer, they're going to be too worried to go on the computer in case they're class an extremist.
No, they're not. You're as bad as
Well,
Sophia. No, they're not. Of course they're not.
No, I'm not as bad as it's reality.
No,
you
it's
might
not.
live in
No,
your
it's
little
not.
fairyland, but
Yeah, I live in a
reality.
little fairyland, and you live in a really obnoxious, horrible land that jumps to conclusions and
No,
knee-jerk
not
reactions
conclusions,
that
it's
isn't
what I
based on
think.
fact. Yeah,
No,
which isn't.
it's my personal
Yeah,
thought,
which is
isn't
not
it?
based on any fact.
Well, of course it is. At the end of the day,
So you're basing on fact.
The thought police.
It's the thought police, and kids will be too scared to go on the internet.
Well, they might not be because they're not the kids. They're going to
Well,
do
you
what
just
they're
said
gonna
that.
do.
We should be.
Yeah,
we
but
should
generally
be.
some of them
We
wouldn't.
should be. Stay there, Katya. I hope you're enjoying being in the middle of this. We should be, Steve, as responsible adults. We should be aware of what our young people, as much as we can be, are looking at on the internet.
Yes, but that's the problem with the internet and the technology. We can't be on them 24 hours.
No,
Same as I've got a 15-year-old daughter, and to be honest, I don't know what she goes on her site.
Well, then I suggest that's bad parenting.
No, of course it's not. I ain't got enough time to go search all her websites.
You should.
Spying,
It's
like the KGB. It's like being a communist country.
No, it's not, Steve. It's bad parenting to suggest. What you could do, Steve.
Because I don't understand the computer, right? I'm a bad parent. It's not my fault. His technology's turned up.
No, it's your fault that you've not embraced it and you've not done it. Looked at it to protect your daughter. You could, of course, install a net nanny. I'm assuming you've done that.
No, I don't know how to. Listen, I give her hardcore discipline, mate, so she knows what to do and what not to do. And also, we live in a so-called democracy that everyone has a free mind to think how they want to think.
And if your 15-year-old wants to look at, if your 15-year-old, you're right, Stephen. If your 15-year-old wants to look at hardcore pornography or instructions on how to make a bomb, you're right. That's absolutely her right to do so. And why should you look into how the technology works so you can protect your daughter? Why would you want to install a net nanny so that you have at least some control when she's under your roof as to what she looks like? Katya, did you have a point you wanted to make? Because we haven't got time for it. But thanks anyway.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Still queues to the north of Bedford on Paula Radcliffe Way on the A6 heading into Bedford. Of course, there are some roadworks there at the moment. The A41 still looking quite slow on the sensors as you head from Aston Clinton in towards Aylesbury. And the A41's also really slow going south from the A414 at Hemel Hempstead down to the M25 at Kings Langley. The M25 itself still quite heavy anti-clockwise from Watford at junction 19 to the M40 at 16. And the clockwise side still queuing from Potters Bar at 24 to the A10 and Enfield at 25. And the M1 still quite heavy going south towards Redbourne at junction 9. The A1M is slow towards Stevenage at junction 7. Chris Humphries, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Okay, I've worked. We will have a European kind of vote off, not about the EU, about Eurovision at some point next week. It means we need an alternative song to go up against Danger No Stranger. Scott, have you got time to knock one out by next week? A song? Just to clarify. If not, maybe you have, dear listener. If you have, you can email it to me. We'll discuss this more tomorrow. Until tomorrow at 6 from us, ta-ta!
Local and vocal across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Iain. Good morning. Welcome to the JVS show. I'm Jonathan Vernon Smith. It's Wednesday. It's 9 o'clock. And on today's Big Phone In, should Britain listen to the UN and make smacking illegal? The United Nations is urging the British government to change the law which allows parents to smack their children. In its report to the UK on the UK's record of protecting children, it said the government should outlaw all corporal punishment in the family. The UN Committee on the Rights of the Child said it deeply regrets the UK has retained the defence of reasonable chastisement despite the recommendations in a damning report it published back in 1995. A spokesman for the children's charity, the NSPCC, has said the UN's report is absolutely right. UK law on this issue is wrong. It doesn't protect children from being hit, and the government should act immediately on the recommendations. Well, this morning I want to hear your reaction to this. Should Britain listen to the UN and make smacking illegal? Here's my telephone number for your call. It's 03459 455 555.
This is the JVS show
on BBC Three Counties Radio.
I'll take your call in just a second, but first let's get the latest BBC News at 1 minute past 9. Here's Simon Oxley.
The headlines: report backs Heathrow expansion, teaching unions criticise new plan to spot children being radicalised, and Wimbledon victory for Hertfordshire player.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
A report has recommended the building of a third runway at Heathrow. A commission set up to consider Britain's airport capacity concluded that expanding Heathrow was the best way to boost the economy. But the Mayor of London, Boris Johnson, who opposes the expansion of Heathrow, says Sir Howard Davis's report supports his argument.
A new third runway, as he acknowledges, would be an inevitable precursor for a fourth runway, with catastrophic impacts on the populations in the city and for noise pollution and indeed for vehicular pollution around West London. So I'm afraid it is not going to happen. My services as a bulldozer blocker will not be required.
Teaching unions have criticised new guidance from the government that's been given to teachers to help them spot children who are in danger of being radicalised, with High Wycombe and Luton highlighted as two